Canada has won many memorable World Junior tournaments, but how it goes about winning it in 2007 is not likely to be ever forgotten. The record shows that the gold medal is won with a 4-2 win over Russia, but it is the intense, gut-wrenching semifinal shootout win over a formidable foe in Team USA that we will never forget. Jonathan Toews and Carey Price are the picture of grace under pressure against Canada's new arch rival, but no words can do justice to the drama of this one. Enjoy.
Tonight's starting goaltenders are brought to you by Chevrolet. Carey Price gets the starting goal for Canada. He is 4-0 in this tournament, while Jeff Frazee gets the start for the U.S. He is 3-0 since taking over as the #1 man for the U.S., and he's not lost in an IHF competition going back to the under-18 tournament in 2005 when he won gold. The referee is Ulf Rundmark from Sweden. The linesmen are from Sweden and the Czech Republic. Cogliano, Marchand, and Downey start for Canada. It's Lewis, along with Patrick Kane and Kyle Opozo for the U.S. Downey and Jack Johnson are talking right off the opening faceoff.
Well, that's all set up by the Americans because Jack Johnson's going to challenge Downey. Jack Johnson plays left defense, not left wing.
Mark Stahl and Ryan Parent back on the point. They'll be out there against Patrick Kane as often as the Canadians can make it happen, but the United States has the last change. Jack Johnson drops it back to his partner Kyle Lawson, and the puck down to the Canadian zone where Carey Price flips it up ahead. Ryan Parent up for Andrew Cogliano. He chips it ahead, and Trevor Lewis bumped him off the puck. Lewis up for Kyle Lawson, and Patrick Kane chips it down to the Canadian zone. Americans played last night in Mora, Sweden, beat Finland in their quarterfinal matchup 6-3.
Americans had too many men on the ice. I don't know if they're going to call him for that or offside, but they had too many men on the ice. Craig Hartsburg not happy with that. He's yelling out too many men on the ice, and he's right on. They didn't catch it, but Craig Hartsburg's got to get those matchups that we talked about. And Ulf Rundmark, the referee here, hopefully he's going to let him play. Look, he's not happy right now. The Americans, that's a good job by Hartsburg being aware. Matchups are going to matter, and that's why Craig Hartsburg's already working on Ulf Rundmark, the official.
Now, Ron Ralston, the American coach, is arguing that he's got the last change. He tried the old throw 8 players out and then decide who stays.
Yeah, he did. That's the late Roger Nielsen used to do that a lot in the NHL. But, you know, once the referee puts his hand up to both benches, that's it. Can't change anymore. And now Hartsburg's going to get the attention of Rundmark again just to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Darren Helm, Marc-Andre Cliche, and the puck rolls down to Frazee and Dan Bertram, the forward line for Canada.
Well, Team Canada's forwards, and it's on the first line. You heard Bob McKenzie talk about Marchand, Cogliano, Downey. Marchand's got to stand up and deliver offensively in the second line. Not a better two-way player in this tournament than Jonathan Toews. On the third line, look for Helm to really bring a physical presence along with Bertram. And Gord, I'm expecting James Neal to have a big game for Team Canada here this afternoon.
Neal did not play against the Slovaks. As a precaution, Ryan Stoa moves it ahead for the U.S. along with Nate Gerby and Peter Mueller. And this is Gerby, number 9 in the corner. One of 11 players in this game who's facing a teammate. Peter Mueller, number 88, is another. Here's Gerby walking out in front. He falls. And away comes Helm with Bertram and Cliche. Bertram had to walk the line as Helm tried to send that in deep.
Canada's getting all the matchups they want.
Bertram splits the knee for Jonathan Toews. That was knocked away from him by Brian Lee, who's playing in his 3rd World Junior. Gerby with Mueller. Nate Gerby across the line. A long drive, and Carey Price handles that easily.
Everybody knows about Mark Stahl and Ryan Parent. And they're going to be real critical guys here for Team Canada. Biggest thing Stahl's got to do is take Patrick Kane out of the game. Look for Bourdon to be in a big physical matchup against Peter Mueller. And the unsung tandem, Franson and Russell on the back end. They bring offense, a big power play presence, and they bring a lot of defensive reliability.
Franson and Russell out there now, and here is Chris Russell. 4 goals the last 2 games for Canada. Ryan O'Mara trying to bat that ahead for Jonathan Toews. They battle in the corner, and the puck goes up into the meshing and out of play. If you're new to international hockey, a couple of things that you'll not be familiar with. Goaltenders can handle the puck wherever they like. No-touch icing is in effect. You can't win a draw with your feet, and if the puck strikes the goaltender in the mask, play is called immediately. Toews steps in against Justin Abdelkader. And Jonathan Toews wins that draw. Franson for Chris Russell. As the Tiger star plays that ahead. Abdelkader couldn't knock it out. Here's Russell fishing it out away from Abdelkader. Russell. Spun around by Blake Jeffrey on. Now Russell fires it in deep. Russell will head off as Jonathan Taves goes digging in the corner for it. O'Mara for Tom Pyatt. Back in front for Taves. That pass was behind him. Now Pyatt moves that battle, shoots. That goes wide of the goal. Lively in boards here, and the puck bounced right past Jonathan Taves. Chris Letang puts that in deep. Carl Alston, number 3, out there along with him. James Neal, number 19, for O'Mara. And play called in the U.S. zone. Ulf Rundmark has called his first penalty of the hockey game. And I believe it'll go against Justin Abdelkader of the United States.
What Canada wants to do early on, get pucks in deep, try to get a forecheck game going, go after Eric Johnson, go after Jack Johnson. Those two players are critical for the Americans. Abdelkader tries to hold up for Eric Johnson. He takes the penalty. Puck goes in deep on Eric Johnson. The penalty's called in the neutral zone. They're trying to hold up.
It was an elbow called against Abdelkader. Little starts the power play with Cogliano and Downey up front. Ryan Little, very Colts scoring star with 1 assist thus far in this tournament, looking to get untracked offensively. Letang hustles back. Bill Sweat all over him. And Letang into the feet of Andrew Cogliano, and that allows the Americans' Mike Carmen to play that off the scoreboard, and play is called.
Ron Ralston's got an unbelievable coaching pedigree. He's coached at a lot of big universities, BC, Harvard, Lake Superior State, Clarkson. He was the architect of their under-18 World Championship win in the Czech Republic. And when he's got some players he really likes to go to, Patrick Kane, we talked about the star of the London Knights, Peter Mueller, first-round pick of Phoenix, and Eric Johnson, first overall by the St. Louis Blues.
Letang across the top for the Canadians on the power play for Andrew Cogliano. Cogliano for Letang. Shoots. Crazy makes the stop, and the rebound got away from Little. Puck cleared out by Jim Fraser. And Cogliano gathers it up. 18 players in this game played in that under-18 gold medal game in 2005. 10 for the U.S., 8 for Canada. Cogliano back for Letang. Letang trying to play that across for Luc Bourdon off a skate to Blake Geoffrion. And Blake Geoffrion gets a bump from Chris Letang and sends it in. Under a minute to go in this Canadian power play. Cogliano. That went off a skate to Trevor Lewis. Away with Oposo shorthanded. Trevor Lewis working in. Centering pass. That's broken up by Cody Franson. Now O'Mara. Long lead pass for Chris Russell. In comes Russell. Shoots. Frazee makes the stop. And there's no rebound.
Well, Chris Russell loves to be an accelerator for Team Canada. It started early in this tournament for Team Canada. Chris Russell taking an Andrew Cogliano pass, blowing it by the German goaltender. There's one off the point. Then you go against Slovakia. He gets the first 2 goals for Canada. Every shot he puts on goal board doesn't get blocked. It's really an amazing thing with Chris Russell, and that's a major reason why he's been so successful in this tournament. 15 shots on goal so far for Chris Russell.
Leads Canada with 4 goals in this World Junior Hockey Championship. Taves against Mueller. The face-off in the American zone. And Taves wins it back. This is Russell. Across to Franson. Cody Franson shoots. That's off a skate. Bounces down to Taves. Jonathan Taves setting it up. O'Mara working in front. Here's Tom Pyatt. Back for Franson. Whips it across for Russell. Russell through traffic. That just missed. And there you see the lively boards as the puck is all the way down to the Canadian zone.
Lively board, yes, but you see Chris Russell walking the line. Little lateral movement opens up another shooting avenue.
Final rush on this Canadian power play. In comes Russell with O'Mara. Bill Sweat got a stick on him from behind. O'Mara for Pyatt. Back to O'Mara. Jam play at the side of that. Frazee down. They whack away at it. And Frazee holds his ground as Eric Johnson fires that down the ice. Americans survive the first Canadian power play. 4.5 gone here in the opening period. Still no score. Kyle Lawson being lined up there by Darren Helm. Jack Johnson being serenaded by these Canadian fans. A bouncing puck. And here's Patrick Kane in the corner. Mark Stahl steps into him. Kane plays that in front for Oposo. Kyle Oposo back for Jack Johnson. Johnson through traffic. Price to save. Rebound cleared away by Stahl. Jack Johnson has scored in 3 straight games for the U.S. And Bertrand plays it in for Darren Helm. He bumps with Lawson. Cleese with it. Back for Helm. That got away from him. And Lawson chips it ahead. Kane. Up for Trevor Lewis. Long drive, and Carey Price gets the block around that. You're watching the World Junior Hockey Championship live on TSN. Back here in Leksand, Sweden. No score in the first period. Canada and the U.S. Steve Downey wins that draw away from Peter Mueller. Chris Letang kicked it there. Mueller in front. Stoa stopped by Price. Loose puck in front. Carey Price pounds on that. Gerby taken down by Letang. And now pushing and shoving, breaking out in the crease of Canadian netminder Carey Price.
Well, because Gerby goes in and takes an extra whack at it. But this is good job by Team Canada in terms of winning the faceoff. But once you win the draw, you have to know where to go with the puck. Downey beats Mueller clean. Canada doesn't know where to go with the draw because Gerby does a good job tying up on Letang. And then you get them all whacking and way down low. And there's Gerby with the extra shots, and Letang puts him down.
Gerby goes off along with Letang, offsetting minor penalties. 5:20 into this opening period. On Saturday, the United States was winless. Needed 2 victories in its final 2 round-robin games just to get to the medal round. The Americans were able to beat Slovakia 6-1, and then won in overtime against Sweden in a game they had to have. And now lots of momentum here in the semifinals. Peter Mueller. Tony with a shot knocked away by the blocker of Carey Price. 4-on-4 here in this first period.
And people wonder why Downey's taking the draw on that side. He's a right-hand shot. It's easier for him to put the puck back on the boards. Cogliano, who's usually the center, is a left-hand shot, so it's an easier play for Downey, and he's got a little bit more of a pit bull mentality going against Mueller, who's a bigger guy.
And Mueller wins that draw. Stoa with a shot, and that flutters down to Price, and again he will hang on.
You know, you talk about Steve Downey. He's a young man who lost his father when he was 12 years of age. He plays with a hearing aid in his ear. He's battled through so much adversity to become a big-time player and a first-round pick of the Philadelphia Flyers.
Chris Russell playing it there for Downey, who battles with Ryan Stoa. Luc Bourdon picks it up and plays it across to Chris Russell. Up for Andrew Cogliano. Cogliano bearing in with Downey. Cogliano spinning back, trying to play that across. Mueller got in the way. Eric Johnson, highest scoring defenseman in this World Junior. Up for Mueller. And Mueller slowing it down, plays it across the Canadian line. Chris Russell steps up, but that play was offside at the Canadian line.
And we've already seen early on Russell jumping into the rush. That was a second time right there, and he was looking for Cogliano to feed him the puck back door. But his live legs will make him a factor. Cogliano, one of the better skaters in this tournament. So if Canada can get their speed game going against the fatigue factor of the Americans, they should have some success for it.
Trevor Lewis won that draw all the way back to the American zone as Jack Johnson goes back to pick it up. Tournament All-Star last year in Vancouver. He's been a big part of this American resurgence. He scored the overtime winner against the Swedes. Taves playing it there for Tom Pyatt. Kyle Lawson picks it up for the U.S. Up ahead for Kyle Oposo. That pass too far for him, and it's icing against the U.S.
Mark Stahl, everybody knows the legendary family in the NHL. Mark Stahl, a follow, played 12 AHL playoff games for the Hartford Wolfpack last year. Gordon talking to him about that yesterday. He says that's one thing that really helped give him a lot of confidence going into this World Junior. He said it really changed the way he played the game.
Taves in for the face-off against Lewis, and Taves wins it back, but did so with his feet, and as a result, will not be allowed to take the next face-off.
And you got to believe at some point he's going to be playing for the New York Rangers pretty soon. I know he's going back to Sudbury, but after that, I think it's NHL for a long time for Mark Stahl.
Clean win by Pyatt. Stahl playing that down for Pyatt, got away from him, and Jonathan Taves looking for it, battles with Oposo. Oposo falls, penalty coming up to Canada, and the United States will get its first power play as Jonathan Taves goes off for hooking.
You know, front Mark's already sending the message. He's going to call all the stick violations. Taves comes in with a stick on Oposo. Oposo goes down. Rundmark makes the call.
The United States has been lethal on the power play. The U.S. has 19 goals scored in this tournament. 9 of them have come on the power play, and they blew it open against the Finns last night in a 5-on-3. It's 4-on-3 now for 47 seconds as Kane comes out, facing off against Pyatt. Kane drops it back. Mueller. Order back in this power play from the back end. Here's Eric Johnson. Back for Mueller. Oposo's in front. Johnson fires. Carey Price got a pat on that. Back it goes to Eric Johnson. Johnson back in front. Fires. Price kicks that out as well. Foot race for it. Parrott reaching. Can't get it out. And Oposo plays it across for Mueller. Sends it across. Kane. Patrick Kane setting it up. Back for Mueller. Fires. And that's off the arm of Carey Price down to Kane. Stahl bumping with Kane. Oposo falls. Mueller back at the line. Peter Mueller back for Eric Johnson. Johnson waits, shoots, Price to stop. Rebound, Price another save, and he clears the rebound. Gerby and Letang are back on the ice. It's 5-on-4 for a minute 10.
all that open ice, you're going to get big shots from Eric Johnson and Peter Mueller. Carey Price fought him off well.
In comes Kane, that long feed from Eric Johnson. Pat Kane, the London Knights, had it taken away by Darren Helm, and Helm able to chip it out.
And if you're just joining this tournament, Darren Helm was a 5th-round pick of the Detroit Red Wings. He'll remind you a lot of Chris Draper and Kirk Maltby.
And there's icing against the U.S. on the power play.
You know, you think about Carey Price when he was a rookie with Tri-City. He was the MVP of the team. The second year, he was the MVP of the team. And you see why. He just looks so big and so comfortable in pressurized situations, fighting off that shot by Eric Johnson with the big screen of Kyle Oposo. That's big-time goaltending, Gord. And that's one of the reasons why Canada is undefeated so far in this tournament. He's got 2 shutouts. Carey
Price second in save percentage and goals against average. So Semen Varlamov of the Russians, we'll see him in the second semifinal against Sweden. Luke Bourdon, Bell Kirby with a shot, and Carey Price knocks that over the glass and out of play.
Rebound control matters. You see Carey Price sensing a little bit of danger. He says, we can win some faceoffs because we've been a good faceoff team. So he just takes his blocker and puts that puck out of play. He's very comfortable with Canada in their faceoff situations. And talking to him, he says the one thing that's really improved in this tournament for him and the defense, their ability to communicate much better.
Skillet drops it back. Jack Johnson fires, and again, Carey Price makes the stop.
And a year ago, you never would have thought Carey Price could deliver like this. But what Carey Price is doing is he's become much more fundamentally sound and more mature as a man. He's so receptive to coaching, and that's why he looks so much bigger. He is big at 6'2", 217, but he looks a lot bigger in goal, Gord, because he's so fundamentally ready.
Kirby and Downey got their sticks up. And Downey, I think, taunting Kirby about his height. Looked like he made a gesture there about Kirby's height. And he'll step in against Pat Kane for the faceoff. Kane wins that draw back for Jack Johnson. 30 seconds to go in the power play. Kirby for Kane. Pat Kane, 3 across the top for the U.S. Jack Johnson across for Chorney. Chorney back to Johnson. Waits, shoots. That's blocked in front. Kane being harassed there by Mark Stahl. Now Kane drops it back for Johnson. Across he goes for Chorney, the American captain. He spins away from Downey. Final seconds of this U.S. power play. Into the corner it goes. Parent Justin with Skilly. Nate Kirby. He's tied up by Mark Stahl, who throws him down. Bertram away with it. Out of the box is Jonathan Toews. Bertram comes in along with Downey. And Bertram plays that in deep. And Downey, huge collision there with Jack Johnson. A Richter-scale collision behind the American goal. In comes Kirby. Nate Kirby in, shoots, and Carey Price makes a terrific stop. End-to-end action here at Lexan. Still no score. Here's Ryan Parent, and standing by with Ryan Parent's parents, James Cebulski.
Yeah, you can almost call this the Ryan Parent section, essentially. 10 family and friends have come to cheer on Ryan here in Leksand, Sweden, here in these semifinals, including his grandmother, Marie Parent, who's traveled all the way from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. This is the first time she's ever had a chance to see her son play live, and he's certainly your grandson live, and have a chance to see this and hopefully catch a second gold medal here at these World Juniors. Gord?
Russell coming in with Helm. Chris Russell plays that behind the American goal. James Cebulski just learned the hard way. Never make a mistake in front of a grandma. They'll always correct you. Lee ahead for Bill Sweat. And Sweat got bumped there by Helm on the way by. Russell plays it across for Carl Alsner. Up for Helm. And now it's fired back down to the Canadian zone. The Americans have to tag up. Russell across for Alsner. Eligible for the upcoming draft and getting a lot of attention. Break wide for Brian Little. In comes Little, working on Lee. And Lee bumps him off the puck. Marc-Andre Cliche lost the puck in the corner. Carmen played it ahead for Bill Sweat. And Sweat goes rink wide, but Mark Stahl got a stick on that. Right in front of Pat Kane. Lee drops it for Kane. Cliche all over him. Now Kane pulls away from 2 Canadian players. And Kane plays it across.
Penalty the Americans.
And a penalty to the U.S.
I think Lee's going to get it.
It's a collision at the blue line.
He hauled down Little.
And that'll send Canada to its second power play.
Brian Lee's not getting as much ice time in this third World Junior that he's playing in, but one of the things he's done has been pretty reliable for Ron Ralston. But in this situation, I think you'll see Downey. Actually, you'll see Little and Lee collide at the blue line, and he goes down. Little goes down.
Lee didn't like it, nor did Ron Ralston. And Canada goes to the power play. O'Mara along with Pyatt and Toews up front. And O'Mara took that face-off. It's back down to the Canadian zone. Letang and Bordeaux will work the back end. Chris Letang Quickly ahead, up for Jonathan Toews, and Toews will set it up. He scored twice against the Americans in the round robin, including once on a penalty shot. That pass got away from Luc Bourdon. And Bourdon, All-Star a year ago himself, plays it in deep. Jeff Frazee back to play it, right to Ryan O'Mara. Bounces away to Blake Jeffrey-on, and he's away with Jim Fraser. Jeffrey-on hit Chris Letang in the face with that clearing attempt. Jonathan Toews across from O'Mara. Letang goes to the Canadian bench. Tom Pyatt down low for Toews. Toews plays it back for Luc Bourdon. Through traffic, shot blocked by Blake Jeffrey-on, and Jeffrey-on sprawls and knocks the puck out.
That's one thing the Americans do so well, block shots.
That long pass broken up by Jack Johnson, who puts that over the glass and out of play.
Well, Jack Johnson and Downey have a little legacy going on, and you'll see a big hit that took place about 2 minutes ago. Downey in a race, he knows Johnson's going to handle the puck, and Downey says, "Bud, bam." It's a meaty collision.
Yeah. Jack Johnson traded the Los Angeles Kings in the deal that sent Tim Gleason, Eric Belanger, and others to Carolina. Third overall pick in the NHL draft. Now playing it down for Cogliano. Cogliano to Franson. Franson through traffic, tipped there by Little. Bouncing puck for Downey. 45 seconds to go in this Canadian power play. Downey for Russell. For Franson. Almost lost the handle. Now Cogliano rips it across for Russell. Shoots. Blocked in front by Bill Sweat. Downey sets it down low. Little. Back for Downey. Little. Walking off the boards for Downey. Jams way back to the net. Frazee jumps out and pounces that loose puck before Little can get to it.
Good composure by the Canadian players with the puck on the perimeter, and Frazee does a nice job in goal for the Americans to make sure there's no second chance opportunity on the wrap. But Downey does a good job with Little controlling the puck. They're trying to break down Eric Johnson, create a 2-on-1, and then Downey walks out, and Frazee doesn't allow the second chance to Cogliano or Little. They're trying to create the 2-on-1 on number 6 in blue, and they do a mini little 2-on-1, but they just can't get it by Frazee.
Mueller won that face-off away from Cogliano. It bounces right back to Downey. Steve Downey setting up. Cogliano's in front. Little plays it for Russell. Across for Franson. Back to Chris Russell. For Little. Shoots. Frazee makes the stop and steers that behind the goal. Downey battles for it. It gets away from Cogliano. Franson steps up. Justin Abdelkader taken down. Kept in by Cogliano. Cogliano shoots. Frazee the save. Rebound. Downey can't get to it. Puck still loose at the side of the goal. Here's Downey. Brian Lee back on the ice for the U.S. 8 minutes to go here in the scoreless first period. Brian Lee. That pass too far for the intended target. Now Little. Up ahead for Downey. Steve Downey shoots. Frazee makes the stop, and Jack Johnson gets to the rebound.
This is the best we've seen Brian Little look in this tournament. That's good news for Canada.
12-15 gone. Still no score. Canada has not trailed in this World Junior Championship, but has not trailed since Game 2 in Vancouver of the preliminary round. Over 9 full games without being behind. The Swiss have scored the last 2 first goals against Canada in World Junior competition. In the relegation round this year, Taylor Chorney sends it down to the Canadian zone. Carey Price out to play it, banks that high off the glass and all the way up. Eric Johnson has to retreat to pick it up.
That's another part of Price's game that's such a weapon, his ability to handle the puck and make the right decisions with it.
Justin Abdelkader chips it up to center ice, and Ryan O'Mara taps it back. Stahl up for Tom Pyatt through the middle. Blake Jeffrey-on got in the way of that, and O'Mara chips it back in, but Toews is offside. Toews rips it down to the American zone. Pyatt goes looking for it with Eric Johnson. Pyatt steps into Johnson. Jeffrey-on plays it there for the #1 overall pick in last summer's draft, Eric Johnson. Selected by the St. Louis Blues. Carey Price up for Letang. For O'Mara. He backhands it out. And now Letang goes back to pick it up. It's Letang and Perrin on the ice right now. And of course, the matchup Canada wants is Mark Stahl against Patrick Kane. And this is Kane trying to slip in behind Letang. Darren Helm with it now. Helm with Cleach. In front, just missed Marc-Andre Cleach. Pat Kane. He got bumped. But Trevor Lewis picks it up with Oposo. 2-on-2. Trevor Lewis lunges and fires. That's off the stick of Bourdon wide. And Bertram for Cleach. Up for Helm. To Cleach. Cleach shoots off a stick, and Jack Johnson hammered Cleach down.
Heads up.
Kane just got clipped by Dan Bertram. In comes Oposo. Kyle Oposo in front. And Carey Price makes the stop. Rebound. Trevor Lewis gets a shot away, but as he does, Kyle Oposo goes barreling into Canadian netminder Carey Price.
This is a slick piece of goaltending by Carey Price. And Bob McKenzie talked about Kyle Oposo and how he hasn't been great in this tournament for the Americans. But here's a display of his skill. Kane just misses getting clobbered by Bertram. But here's his skill level. Oposo around Letang, driving hard to the net. Carey Price staying with Kyle Oposo. This is, again, Carey Price not guessing, being strong on the shooter. That's a good job. And the reason he can be strong on the shooter, Gord, is the fact he trusts his defenseman. That's part of that communication process that's taken place throughout this whole tournament. Canada wanted to get better on that, and they definitely have gotten better on it. The communication between goaltender and defense.
Craig Hartsburg trying to get in a late change. And he'll end up with Ryan Parent and Chris Russell on the ice together, as referee Ulf Runmark wouldn't allow him to put that last sneaky one in. Peter Mueller for Gerby. Whips it down to the Canadian zone. Ryan Stoll looking for it. And here's Sam Gagner, number 38, his first shift of the game. Up for James Neal. He got tangled up with Nate Gerby. Canada switches on the fly quickly. Russell and Carl Alsner come out for Canada. Taylor Chorney sends it ahead for Gerby. That pass misfires, and icing is the call against the United States. Well, Chris Russell, as we mentioned, having an outstanding tournament with 4 goals, and the most goals by a defenseman by anyone in the World Junior. Jan Vopat back in 1993 in Gävle, Sweden.
Russell and Letang, 2 Canadian defensemen, tied for second for scoring by defensemen in the tournament. Eric Johnson, number 1 for the Americans. He's played 1 extra game. He's got 7 points. Letang and Russell have both combined for 5.
Jeffrey on won that draw away from Cogliano. Jeff Frazee and on the clearing attempt. Chris Letang shoots. Knocked down in front by Jack Johnson, and away comes the U.S. Johnson for Abdelkader. Justin Abdelkader, long drive. That goes well wide out the other side. Jeffrey on in front, and Luc Bourneau cleared that away. Marchand quickly ahead for Steve Downey on Jack Johnson. Downey in front, and that's broken up by Abdelkader. Cogliano picks it up for Downey. Jack Johnson's all over him. Marchand racing for it. Brad Marchand trying to play that back, fanned on it, and Jeffrey on knocks it out.
Stahl wants to be against Kane. Jack Johnson wants to be against Downey. That's the Americans' choice of matchup.
Now a chance for Taves. He bats it down. Frazee out to play it. Gets it away from Jonathan Taves. Downey in behind the American goal for Marchand. Fraser knocking it down for Bill Sweat. He was the top forward, the under-18 here in Sweden last spring. Here comes Bill Sweat in full stride. Sweat working in backhand shot. Price makes the save. Mike Carmen in the corner with it. And a foot race. Tom Pyatt gets there first. Up for Ryan O'Mara. That got away from him. 2 Saginaw Spirit teammates in the Ontario Hockey League. O'Mara traded there just before the Canadian selection came.
And he had a choice where he wanted to go. One of the places he wanted to go is to go to Saginaw so he could be around Tommy Pyatt.
Offside at the American line. Still no score in the first. Just another close game in the medal round between Canada and the United States. And their first meeting in the medal round since 2004 in Helsinki. 18 first-round picks in this game, including 9 top 10 picks from the top 2 drafts.
Still to come, Gagner, Alsner, and Kane. Don't forget Van Riemsdyk for the Americans. 4 potential more first-rounders.
And let's not forget the ones who aren't here. Sidney Crosby, Jordan Staal for Canada.
Gilbert Brulette.
Phil Kessel for the U.S.
Marc-Edouard Vlasic. Guillaume Latendresse for Canada. Lots of them.
Marc-Andre Cliche steps in for the face-off against Peter Mueller. Canada controls out the face-off. Letang with a shot that hit Dan Bertram in front. Bertram tied up by Brian Lee. And Nate Gerby with it. Dan Bertram's teammate at Boston College. And Lee taps it back. First shift for Sean Zimmerman, number 23 of the U.S. 4th year with the Spokane Chiefs of the Western Hockey League. Brian Lee up for Ryan Stoa. He lost the puck to Dan Bertram. And Bertram shovels it down to the American zone. Zimmerman quickly up for Gerby as Canada changes it. Nate Gerby comes dancing in around Downey. Here's Mueller. Peter Mueller shoots. Carey Price with the glove save. And there's no rebound. Well, for the first time, all TSN broadcasts of the World Junior Hockey Championship are being streamed live on the new TSN broadband player. They'll be available on demand following the game at tsn.ca. Visit tsn.ca and click on TSN Broadband. Back here in Leksand, Sweden, semi-final day at the World Junior Hockey Championship. Canada and the United States this afternoon. Tonight, the host team Sweden against Russia. Happening for you on TSN. Cogliano racing with Kane, that loose puck. Mark Stahl gets to it. And Stahl whips that ahead for Downey. Downey through the middle for Cogliano. Cogliano bearing in. Frazee jumped on it. A quick whistle as Jeff Frazee bobbled that puck and had Cogliano bearing down on him.
Cogliano not happy with his teammate at Michigan, Jack Johnson. Good puck movement by Canada coming out of their own zone, Gord. I can't think of too many times they've been in a situation that's been difficult because of turnovers. And here's an example of the puck movement. Tape to tape, down, he gets it. Cogliano coming with speed, driving hard to the net, and he just gets hauled down. Good whistle, as you said.
Cogliano versus Trevor Lewis on the faceoff. Scramble draw, reaching for it was James Neal. This is Neal with Downey and Cogliano. Kyle Oposo coming the other way for the U.S. Oposo tangles with Ryan Parrott. U.S. bench up Holloway for a penalty.
This is a matchup Canada wants.
Trevor Lewis, the LA Kings first-round pick. For Oposo, Parrott steps into him. Lewis loose behind the Canadian goal. Penalty coming up to Canada. Lewis for Oposo. Stahl can't get to it. Now Stahl finally reaches it, and as James Neal touches the puck, referee Ulf Rundmark is going to call holding behind the Canadian net on Ryan Parrott.
It's just a one-on-one battle down low, and they always call it if you have the free hand, and especially if you're over-exuberant. Ryan Parrott knows his job. He's going to go against Oposo most of the night, and there's the hold. Just that little piece of obstruction with the right arm. Parrott gets called for holding, and Team USA goes to their second power play.
U.S. 0 for 1 in the first one, had 5 shots on goal. Most of that was 4-on-3. Gerby, along with Kane, and Jack Skilly up front on the American power play. Helm and Cleach up front to kill it, along with Bordeaux and Letang on the back end. The puck chipped out by Marc-Andre Cleach. Canada's penalty killing has been exemplary. Only 1 goal and 24 opposition attempts coming in. Gerby flipping it in. Letang ties him up. Gerby looking for it. Nate Gerby back for Taylor Chorney. Being watched by Cleach. This passing with Jack Skilly. Kane banks it there for Gerby. Too far for him. Eric Johnson races up. 2 Americans behind the goal. Here's Kane in front. Great chance. Whipped wide by Gerby. Patrick Kane with it. Kane still with it. Lost the puck at his feet. Here comes Canada shorthanded. Helm with Cleach. Darren Helm working in. Helm backhand. Stopped by Frazee. Great shorthanded chance by Darren Helm, and Jeff Frazee makes the stop.
Last time USA and Canada played together, Helm had 2 goals against the Americans. One of them was because of a foot race against Eric Johnson. Kane gets too cute. Helm makes the read. There's a quick explosive speed of the Medicine Hat Tiger driving wide around Eric Johnson, and he just can't finish the play off on Frazee. Good job by Cleach looking for the second chance opportunity. That's how great Darren Helm can be, Gord. That little burst of speed around Eric Johnson's not an easy thing to do.
Hyatt wins the draw. Bertram taps it back for Mark Stahl. Russell back for Stahl. He'll kill some time and now send it down to the American zone. Under a minute to go in this U.S. power play. Jack Johnson leaves it there for Peter Mueller. Johnson gathers it back. Turnover again. This is Bertram. Puts that right in the stick of Peter Mueller. Mueller up for Oposo. Kyle Oposo, one of the top goal scorers in the NCAA. He's got 15 on the year at Minnesota. Mueller fires, blocked in front. Russell from his knees fires that down the ice. Frazee up with it quickly. For Oposo, can't find the puck at his feet. And Ryan Stoa plays it rink wide for Jack Johnson. Ryan O'Mara gives him a hard ride. Price for Letang, and out it goes. 20 seconds to go in the American power play. A minute to go in the first period.
All those little plays by Carey Price with the puck make it such an easy game for the defense for Team Canada.
Jack Johnson setting up for the U.S. 3 goals in his last 3 games. Drops it back for Brian Lee. Price back to play it. Final seconds of the penalty. Price high off the glass and out. And Ryan Parrott's back on the ice for Canada. Ryan Lee rips it back in. Price will stop it. Luc Bordeaux up for James Neal. Rink wide for Cogliano. In comes Cogliano with Downey. Andrew Cogliano in front. No one there for Canada. And back the other way comes Jack Skilly for the U.S. Skilly breaks in across the Canadian line. Fires, and Price knocks that way up in the air. Neal able to chip that out as Blake Geoffrion took a run at him.
Oh, that's a cheap shot right there.
Neal got nailed
down. That's a cheap shot right there.
Abdelkader took him down at center ice. Yep. Ulf Rundmark saw it. And with 8 seconds to go in the first period, Canada will go to the power play.
James Neal's coming off a bad groin situation. Didn't play in Canada's last game against Slovakia. He puts the puck in. Abdelkader goes for the low shot. That's just a cheap shot right there. He's trying to be physical. If he stands up rather than go down, then it's okay. But he goes down and goes for a low bridge.
Abdelkader called for interference. Canada on the power play with 8 seconds left in the first. Cogliano, Little, and Downey up front. Franson and Chris Russell on the back end. Cogliano lost the draw to Peter Mueller. And Jack Johnson sends that to the line. Cody Franson had his shot knocked down, and time expires. After 20 minutes, Canada will have 1 minute and 53 seconds of power play time to start the second. No score through one in the semifinals of the World Junior Hockey Championship. Canada with a power play for 1 minute and 53 seconds to open the second period. The scoreless semifinal game later on this evening here in Leksand. It'll be Russia against the host Swedes. Letang up for Bordeaux. Bordeaux got stymied, but Brian Little picks it up. After Andrew Cogliano looking for Downey. Downey races to it. Beat Downey. He's got 2 Canadian power play goals. Took down Bill Sweat Bordeaux. Knocked down in front for Downey. And he couldn't quite get to it as Kyle Lawson got in the way. 1:20 to go in this Canadian power play. Chris Letang flips it down. Crazy. Gets to it, plays it off the wall, and by Cogliano. Here's Fraser with it with Blake Geoffrion. Blake Geoffrion in across the line, skated by the puck. And he bumps with Letang. And Geoffrion looking for a face-off will get one inside the Canadian zone.
And Steve Downey's always a target, especially when it's against Team USA. You'll see it right off the opening draw. Jack Johnson's a left defenseman. He goes up and plays left wing against Downey. Downey says, "You're not going to bug me then?" Steve Downey and Nate Gerby. I think I'm a little taller than you. Gerby's 5'5". And he's an equal opportunity hitter as he goes right after Jack Johnson. So that's a battle and a game within the game to watch. Downey versus Jack Johnson.
Downey took a minor penalty and a 10-minute misconduct against the United States in the round-robin meeting. And vowed to be better after that. Under a minute to go in this Canadian power play. Russell had it bounce away from him to Taves. Jonathan Taves in across the line. Taves being harassed from behind by Blake Geoffrion. Taves falls in the corner looking for Pyatt. Pyatt and Lee collide. 3 Canadians down low, and that allows Sean Zimmerman to send it out.
Right now, the American defenders are stronger down low than the Canadian attack. It's time for Canada to take a page out of their earlier playbook and get more aggressive physically.
That pass from Russell to Franzen misfires, but Franzen gets it back. Cody Franzen down for Ryan O'Mara. His pass for Taves a little too far. Now Taves gathers it up. Walking out in front is Pyatt. He fell, and Trevor Lewis comes away. Chris Russell being watched by Lewis. And Russell had to poke that away quickly. Kyle Oposo, final seconds of this power play, harassing Cody Franson. Oposo with the steal. He falls, no penalty. And Pyatt jumps ahead as Abdelkader comes out of the penalty box. In comes O'Mara. Quick shot. Crazy knocks that away. Abdelkader up for Oposo. Trying to get around Cleach. Trevor Lewis tapped it down, but it's knocked right out by Ryan Parent. Aaron Helm. Checking on Eric Johnson, and Helm comes up with the puck. Playing that in front. Dan Bertram waits, shoots off the side of it. Comes the other side. Aaron Helm jams out of the net. Back out in front it goes. Mark Stahl. Waits, shoots, shot blocked. 3 Americans sprawl to block that shot by Mark Stahl. Aaron Helm in the corner with it. Helm back for Bertram. Bertram for Stahl. Shoots, that goes ball wide. Aaron Helm looking for it. Reverses it for Bertram. Abdelkader got there first. Helm races in. Gets to another loose puck. Taps it back. Parent shoots. That goes high and wide. Back for Stahl. Stahl in deep. Banks it there for Bertram. Back in front. Kept alive by Parent. Sustained pressure now by Canada early in this second period. Brad Marchand with it.
Push legs on the ice.
Marchand on Shorty. Steps into him. Now Cogliano back for Stahl. Stahl's been out there a while. Oposo trying to take it away from him. Stahl had that taken away. Eric Johnson plays it off the hand of Oposo. In comes the U.S. Oposo with Mueller. Cal Oposo, poke check from behind by Mark Stahl. Cogliano comes racing in for Downey. Back in front, Marchand. Backhand pass for Cogliano. Couldn't get to it.
Too cute. Got to finish plays off hard.
Eric Johnson settles it down for Peter Mueller. Still looking for the game's first goal here in the second period. In comes Mueller across the line. And Mueller was stymied there by Carl Alsner. Brad Marchand. He got reduced ice time in the opening period. It was gloved down by Gerby when he lost the puck. Downey for Marchand. With Cogliano in front. Marchand falls. And now Marchand gathers it back up. For Downey. In the feet of Kyle Lawson. Downey battles for it. Here's Marchand. And it got away from him. Nate Gerby chips it out. Alsner for Russell. Long pass to Taves as the Americans are changing. And his pass for Marchand missed. And Marchand will head off. Jack Johnson. Up for Nate Gerby. In comes Gerby. Steaming it on Russell. Gerby waits. Shoots. Through traffic. Price makes the save. The rebound way up in the air. And Pyatt banks it out. Fired back down on Carey Price, and that's offside at the Canadian line. Back to Leksand, Sweden after this.
Mark Stahl, 6'4", and he's very rangy. Kyle Oposo with the tail end of a long shift. You see the quick active stick of Mark Stahl separating Kyle Oposo from the puck. Live legs versus fatigue legs, and very, very good reach for Mark Stahl. Not taking the penalty there.
Ryan Littleton for the faceoff. Abdelkader wins it for the U.S. and a penalty coming up to Canada. Sam Gagner. We got the stick in, and the U.S. is about to go to the power play as Sam Gagner goes off.
Don't say anything, son. Just get in the box.
And the United States will go to its third power play of the hockey game.
You know, when we talked about faceoffs being a factor, Team Canada loses his faceoff. Sam Gagner trying to pursue off the lost faceoff. He gets a stick in there. I know it's marginal for people back in Canada watching this, but you have to know they're going to call that all the time. Anytime the stick is on the hip or in the back or close to the upper body, they're going to call it all the time.
Sam Gagner took 3 minor penalties in Canada's tournament opener against Sweden. So Gagner goes off, and back out comes the American power play. Kane, along with Skilly and Gerby up front. Eric Johnson and Taylor Chorney on the back end. Helm and Cleese to kill it up front. Stahl and Parent on the back end. Eric Johnson setting it up for the U.S. Johnson for Taylor Chorney. Back for Eric Johnson. Johnson waits, plays it across for Patrick Kane. And Kane works his way and fires. That goes off the arm of Carey Price. Now Chorney with it. Taylor Chorney walks in, shoots, back to a pass, score! Nate Gerby makes it 1-0 U.S.
This is a big league goal. For Taylor Chorney, a second-round pick of the Edmonton Oilers, just snaps it off to Gerby right through the penalty-killing box of Team Canada. You see what happens. There's no sticks on the ice, so that opens up the whole passing seam. Skilly does a good job in the slot, but he rotates down. That brings Perrin over, and Stahl's a little slow reacting to be good, but it's the way Chorney whips that puck right across. Stahl's too slow coming over because of how quick that puck made the transition from Chorney's stick to Gerby's stick, but that's a big league power play goal by Team USA.
Nate Gerby's first goal of this World Junior Hockey Championship, and Canada trails for the first time in the tournament. So the Gagner penalty is costly, and Canada trails. And Pierre, we talked about it, a very different U.S. team than the one we saw last week when the Americans lost their tournament opener to Germany in overtime and then to Canada. Gerby from Chorney and Eric Johnson at 5:04. So Eric Johnson now with his 8th point goes into a tie for the tournament scoring lead. Downey. Up ahead for Cogliano. That pass misfired, and Patrick Kane comes back the other way on Bourdon. Patrick Kane with it. Dribbles that off the side of the net, right back to Kane. Kane playing it down for Oposo. And he falls in front of Luc Bourdon. Up for Steve Downey. He goes right wide. Letang comes jumping in for Canada. He gets tangled up down in the American zone as Oposo comes back the other way. Plays it back toward Trevor Lewis with a shot blocked by Downey. And Downey plays it up for Brad Marchand with Cogliano. Brad Marchand. Plays that in front. Trevor Lewis got a stick on that. Downey battling for it. And Oposo able to play it out. Patrick Kane up for Kyle Oposo. Out of the first round pick. Back in front for Kane. Battling in front of the Canadian goal. And Cogliano comes up with it. He'll flip it out. Fired down to the Canadian zone by Justin Abdelkader. Mark Stahl had trouble with that in his feet. And now Chris Letang back for Stahl. To Tom Pyatt. Pyatt with O'Mara. Finding across the line off a skate. Back it goes to Jack Skilly. Up for Blake Jeffrey on Mark Stahl. Jeffrey on. Plays it back. Abdelkader steaming in. Justin Abdelkader fires. Carey Price makes the stop. Mark Stahl. Rink wide he goes. That pass misfired for Ryan O'Mara.
He's got to get back to their team concept, Gord. Too much individual stuff right now. Play as a team.
Broken stick down there, and Mark Stahl tiptoes around that for Jonathan Toews. Puck at his feet, couldn't find it. And now Toews taps it back for Ryan Perrin. Canada getting bottled up here. Stahl plays it up to center ice.
It's a little bit of panic right now. Canada's got to take a deep breath, get a little bit more energy on the forecheck, start spending some time in the American zone.
Ryan Perrin hustles back.
Penalty coming to Mueller.
Got a stick on Perrin. Carey Price leaves the Canadian goal as the Canadians bring it up. Jonathan Toews. Extra attackers on the ice. It's Downey. And Frazee will touch it. Canada will go to the power play with 7:19 gone here in the second. Off the face-off, Cogliano wins it back for Russell. Canada on the power play for the fourth time. Brian Little. Back for Steve Downey. Got tangled up with the linesman. And Downey continues to battle. For Little. Working on Brian Lane. Back for Downey. Trying to set it up. For Russell. Back he goes, Cody Franson. His shot was blocked by Mike Carman. And Chris Russell retreats. Russell, highest scoring defenseman in the Western Hockey League. Up for Steve Downey. Downey was pulled checked by Brian Lee, and that forces the play offside at the American line.
Shot blocking's a factor, and Steve Downey's good on the wall and protecting the puck, but the Canadian defenders are trying to get pucks in from the blue line, but they're getting blocked because guys like Mike Carman and Bill Sweat are coming out and really challenging the Canadian defenders. So now players like Downey and Cogliano have to dominate down low. If Team USA is going to overplay the Canadian defense, and now the Canada's got to make the adjustment, get the puck down low and start jamming the net.
Kyle Lawson plays at the University of Notre Dame for former Team USA head coach Jeff Jackson. And Chris Letang will start it up on this Canadian power play. A minute 10 to go in the man advantage. Letang up for Downey. He fires it in, and Brian Little goes looking for the retrieval. Cogliano races to that puck. Down for Little. Zimmerman going to stick on him, and it bounces out to Downey. For Little, to Cogliano. Andrew Cogliano for Downey. Back for Letang. Across for Luc Bourdon. Bourdon to Letang. His shot blocked in front of Downey. Back for Little. Oh, stopped by Frazee. Brian Little robbed by Jeff Frazee. And back comes Jeffreyon for the U.S. And Blake Jeffreyon sends it in deep off on a chain. Great chance for Brian Little right in the doorstep. And Jeff Frazee made the stop. Letang sets it up for Little. Trying to bounce it by Chorney. And it's banked out by Abdelkader. 25 seconds to go in the power play. Letang sends it in, and Canada changes. Jack Johnson high off the glass, and by Letang all the way down the ice. 9 minutes gone here in the second period. U.S. leads 1-0 on a power play goal by Nate Gerby. Luc Bourdon setting it up for Canada. Flips it down to the American zone where Jonathan Toews goes looking for it. And they're going to call that icing against Canada.
Brian Little's been snake bit a little bit when it comes to scoring, but Canada does a good job. Letang puts a puck on goal. Downey whips it across. It gets deflected right onto the stick of Little. And what a reaction by Frazee, going from his left to his right. That's very impressive.
We mentioned Jeff Frazee, undefeated internationally at under 18 or World Junior competition. He came in as the American starting goaltender for the third game against Slovakia, and he's 3-0 in this tournament. Penalized player Mueller's out of the box for the U.S. Approaching the midway point of the second period. Tom Pyatt, long drive, and Frazee will hang on to that. The United States is the only country to win back-to-back under 18s. They've won it the last 2 years. And by the way, a scoring note, They've given the American goal to Taylor Chorney instead of Nate Gerby.
So what they're probably saying is it went off of Stahl as it went to the net. Here's Chorney whipping it across. You know what? It looks like it goes off Stahl's foot, not Gerby's stick. It goes off Stahl's foot.
Now Stahl fires, and Frazee will hang on to that. So Chorney will get credit for the goal. Eric Johnson will still draw an assist, so he'll still be tied for the tournament lead in scoring.
Chorney's trying to go backdoor to Gerby, and right off the right skate. Gerby has a stick motion, but Stahl puts it right by his own goaltender.
First goal for the American captain. His dad, Mark, is here. Mark played 5 years in the NHL for Pittsburgh and LA. And Brian Lee banks it up for the U.S. Ryan Parrott up ahead for Marc-Andre Cliche, but that play was offside.
Gordon, the first period there were 33 faceoffs. Canada won 20, the Americans won 13. Craig Hartsburg knows faceoffs are going to be important, especially when you have a goalie like Carey Price who's going to put the puck out of play line. Very important that Canada have a retrieval plan. If they lose faceoffs, where do their players go? How do they establish a forecheck? That's going to be critical for them because there are lots of faceoffs in this game.
Short end glass in the arena here in Lexans. You get a lot of whistles, and especially on penalty kill, goaltenders like to knock it up over the glass. Hell, back for Luc Bourdon. Fishing that in front. It bounces right ahead to Ryan Stoa. In for Gerby. That pass got away from him, and it's icing against the United States.
And automatic icing leads to a lot of face-offs as well. Nate Gerby going to pick the puck up and give it to the linesman. But Craig Hartsburg and his staff have been very, very strong in terms of structure with this team, and they've had a plan for power play. They had a very good plan for penalty killing. They've worked on adapting to the fast boards here in Lexan, and the team's responded well. Now they've got to come from behind, battle through some adversity, something they haven't faced all tournament.
From the face-off, O'Mara battling for it, and now Dan Bertrand taking a shot away. Held. And a bounce away from him. Nate Gerby comes in with Mueller. Nate Gerby back out in front. Cliche got a stick on that. Ryan Stoa knocks it down. Stoa shoots. Blocked there by Luc Bourdon. Away comes Canada. Bourdon with Held. Luc Bourdon across the line. It rolls down to Frazee, and he'll hang on. And some pushing and shoving breaks out in the corner. Jonathan Toews wearing the mic.
Skate, skate! Chip, chip! Yeah! That was a bad call.
Always bad calls.
Sam Gagner steps in for the face-off. His first shift since taking the minor penalty for Canada. James Neal knocks it back. Neal hasn't had a shift since he was low bridge in the first period. Ryan Little kicking it there for Neal. Goes high up in the air. Americans thought it went out of play, but it's knocked down by Little. Digging in the corner for Sam Gagner. He and Trevor Lewis collide, and James Neal hammers down Zimmerman. Pat Kane knocks it out. It's Ryan Parrott on the ice, along with Cody Franson. As Franson sends it in, here's James Neal with a chance. Neal taking a shot away. Change it. Lewis comes in, along with Oposo. Trevor Lewis laying it down in front. Carey Price steals that away from Sean Zimmerman. And it's steered up by James Neal. Kyle Lawson. Long lead pass as Kyle Oposo was sneaking in, and Sam Gagner goes back. Jack Skilly got a stick on him. Mark Stahl gathers it up. Stahl gains the blue line. Poke checked over by Lawson, and it's backhanded up by Abdelkader, but not past the line. Abdelkader lined up by Little. Played it by him. Here's Skilly. James Neal has to leap to get over the board to avoid a too many men on the ice penalty. Chris Russell flipping it down. Bounces right by Frazee. And they're going to call a slash against the U.S. We'll be right back.
Justin Abdelkader in the neutral zone steps up and slashes away on Chris Russell. He gets called. That's his third minor penalty of the game, Gordon. That's not going to sit very well with Ron Ralston, the coach for Team USA. They've played a very disciplined game, the Americans, but that kind of stuff by Abdelkader, especially 2 penalties in the neutral zone, won't be accepted by the coach.
Canada 0 for 4 on the power play in the game. Just 1 shot total on the last 2 Canadian power plays. And the face-off won by Mike Carman.
Carman's doing an amazing job for the Americans, dominating face-off play.
Kyle Lawson spins away, plays it ahead for Carman. Can't backhand it out. Cody Franson shoots. That goes wide. And Brad Marchand races for it. Marchand, Downey, and Andrew Cogliano the forward line on this power play. Back for Franson. For Russell. Chris Russell waits, shoots. Shot was blocked by Bill Sweat. Back it goes to Russell. Plays it across. Cogliano fires high and wide.
It's a one-time chance. Can't stop that one. He's got to shoot it.
Downey for Marchand. To Cogliano. Back to Franson. Fires. The flash goes just wide. Marchand looks for it. Bill Sweat battling. And it's knocked out by Sweat.
When the Canadians have the one-time chances, they got to take advantage of it. Franson right there with the one-timer. Good decision.
Chris Russell stepping up for Canada. Jumping in across the line is Russell. The Canadians leading goal scorer, but he's knocked off the puck. And it's picked up by Jim Fraser.
Face off inside. That was a good one-on-one play by Brian Lee, the first-round pick of the Ottawa Senators. In a one-on-one against Chris Russell. But this is what happens. The Americans love to block shots. Canada's got to be aware of that. So they move the puck quickly. And this is what you like. Franson moving into that seam. And he just blasts it right by the left goalpost. That's a much better job by Canada trying to take advantage of their power play opportunities.
O'Mara steps in for the face-off against Blake Jeffrey on and wins it. Taves taps it back for Chris Letang. For Taves. Jonathan Taves works in, plays it down low to Tom Pyatt. Back in front for Taves, broken up by Brian Lee. Jim Fraser gets to it. O'Mara steps into him. Bordeaux trying to hold the line. And a penalty coming up. It's going to be a hook against the United States. And that will send...
O'Mara's getting it.
Oh, they're getting O'Mara. My apologies. Looked like the U.S. had the puck, but O'Mara goes off, and that'll do it for the power play.
You just look to the left of your screen, and again, it's a stick violation. They're going to get you all time. 23 in white comes in with a stick on Jimmy Fraser, and Ulf Rundmark, the official from Sweden, sees it and makes the call.
7 minutes remaining here in the second period. U.S. leads 1-0. 4-on-4 now for the next 44 seconds, and then the United States will go to the power play. Taylor Chorney, who has been given credit for the first American goal. To Trevor Lewis. His shot squirts down to Carey Price, and he'll hang on. Trevor Lewis against Jonathan Taves on the faceoff. And Lewis wins it back for Taylor Chorney. Chorney had to go off the leg of Jonathan Taves. Chorney and Taves teammates at the University of North Dakota. Lewis sends it in for Kyle Oposo. Chris Letang steps into him. And Tom Pyatt with it. Banking it ahead for Taves.
Icing.
And icing the call as Taves can't get there in time.
Well, Jonathan Taves had a monster game against Team USA the first time out. 6-3 win by Canada on the power play. Cody Franson launched one on goal. Jonathan Taves shows some skill. Then later on, Eric Johnson threw a stick. That gave Jonathan Taves a penalty shot opportunity. He proved it right by Jeff Zatkoff, the goaltender for Team USA.
On the face-off, Ryan Parent reaching in for it against Chorney. And Marc-Andre Cliche sends it ahead for Darren Helm. The speedster in on Eric Johnson. In comes Helm. And the U.S. now to the power play as Abdelkader comes out of the box for 1 minute and 12 seconds. Nate Gerby in full stride. In comes Gerby across the line. Trying to get around Ryan Parent. Now Gerby sets it up. Drops it off for Skilly. Back to Eric Johnson. Johnson trying to play it back in front. That deflects into the corner. Chorney. Eric Johnson. Patrick Kane sets it up. Kane crisscrossing with Eric Johnson. And Eric Johnson now walks back to the middle. Fires through traffic. Save made by Price. Price fell. Couldn't clear it up. Chorney fires off the side of the net. Canadians arguing that the Canadian player was tripped.
Jack Skilly even thought he was going to take a penalty. He was frustrated with himself.
Chorney back for Eric Johnson. 30 seconds to go in the power play. U.S. trying to take a 2-goal lead. Patrick Kane down for Gerby. Parent gets to it. High off the glass, but not out. Behind the Canadian goal, Skilly knocked off stride by Parent. Parent being held up by Skilly. Now Cliche with it. With Helm, short-handed. Marc-Andre Cliche trying to work his way in. Jack Johnson stymied him. And the Canadians get fresh legs on the ice, so O'Mara is set to come out of the penalty box. After Kane, poke check by Andrew Cogliano. Now Kane gets it back. O'Mara back on the ice. Kane for Gerby, shoots, pinballs in front, goes into the corner. Cogliano gathers it up. Under 5 to go here in the second period. Ryan O'Mara. Long pass for Downey. In with Cogliano. 2-on-1. Downey in, shoots, and he put it wide. Crazy might have got a piece.
Penalty coming to the Americans.
And reaching up for it is Bill Sweat. Canada goes to the power play when we come back to Lexington.
gets a 2-on-1 through the neutral zone. Driving wide, Andrew Cogliano, Steve Downey, Brian Lee took a penalty in the neutral zone on Tommy Pyatt, and he's in the box for interference.
Canada 0 for 5 in the power play. Just 5 shots on goal total in those 5 power plays. Cogliano, Downey, Marchand up front, Bourdon and Letang back at the points. And Bourdon racing for that puck. Can't get to it in time, and Jim Fraser knocks it out. Chris Letang being watched by Mike Carmen. Up for Marchand across the line. That bounced away from him. Kyle Lawson. Right away to Cogliano. Back he goes to Luc Bourdon. Looks it across to Letang. Kept that onside. Back for Bourdon. To Letang. Letang walks in. Chris Letang backhands it in front. Downey waits. Plays that just wide. Steve Downey had all day and put it wide. Letang reaches to it. Across for Bourdon. Back for Letang. Letang to Cogliano. Shoots. And a leg in front. Racing towards Letang, but he and Bourdon got their wires crossed, and Bourdon has to retreat.
Cogliano's got to set himself up for the one-timer. The more he stops the puck, easier for the defenseman to get over and block his shooting avenue.
Bourdon shifts it down to the American zone as Jeff Frazee is back to play it. Cogliano leaves it there for Letang. Back for Cogliano. Down low, Steve Downey back in front, and the pass just misfired. Downey racing to it. Lawson. Tied up there by Brad Marchand. Chris Letang steps up. His shot blocked by Sweat. Sweat turns it blocked by Letang. His shot blocked by Geoffrion. And Bill Sweat finally knocks it out.
Too long a shift for these Canadian forwards.
Marchand with it. Back for Downey. Steve Downey in front. Loose puck, and it's knocked out by Blake Geoffrion.
We were on for almost a minute and 30 seconds. That's too long.
Russell had that go off the skate of Bill Sweat. And Blake Geoffrion goes back and plays it down. Blake Geoffrion, Tennessee native, drafted by Nashville, and the grandson of Ernie Boom Boom Geoffrion. Mark Stahl comes in, plays it across for Jonathan Toews. Toews for Tom Pyatt. Pyatt comes walking in, down low for Ryan O'Mara. For Toews. Toews shoots, just misses near side. Penalized player back on the ice. Russell, down for O'Mara. To Pyatt. That bounced away from Toews, and Russell has to reach back. Ryan Stoa comes barreling in. He collides with Mark Stahl. Peter Mueller. Lost at the stall. Up to Toews. Toews with O'Mara. That's wide of the goal. Canada changing. And Ryan Parent had to wait as Stoa comes barreling down on him. Stoa in front for Mueller. That pass was behind him. And the puck comes out to Jonathan Toews. Looking for a change, dumps it in. 2 minutes to go in the second period. Canada down a goal. Kyle Oposo had to bounce over his stick. And it's played ahead by Ryan Parent. Ryan Lee almost gave that away to Marc-Andre Cliche. Zimmerman up ahead for Gerby. He chips it down the Canadian zone. Carl Alsner, the Burnaby, BC native. Used to play 40 minutes a night for the Calgary Hitmen. Up for Ryan Parent. Brian Little had a great chance earlier on the Canadian power play. Turned away by Jeff Fraser. Helm. Battling in the corner is Darren Helm. Still with it. Trevor Lewis all over him. Helm. Going to tap that back for Chris Letang. Helm still battling for it. And finally it's knocked out. Letang banks it ahead for Helm. In with Brian Little. Lawson tries that long side. Luc Bourdon steps up. Final minute now of this second period. Kyle Oposo up for Patrick Kane. Passes too far for him. And icing is the call. Well, among those in attendance here this afternoon are on the left, CTV President Rick Brace, and on the right, Hockey Canada President Bob Nicholson. Those two inked a nice deal last year. World Hockey Championship, World Junior through 2014 for TSN. So we'll have the Olympics, the World Junior, the World Championship coming your way over the next several years. Mark Stahl with a shot that gets blocked. And Jack Skilly goes racing for it. Trying to get around Chris Russell, who reached in and poked it out. 45 seconds to go in the second period. U.S. with a 1-0 lead. Americans the last team to beat Canada at the World Junior Championship in the gold medal game in 04. In the corner, Jack Skilly sends that in front. Jack Johnson plays it across. Geoffrion down low, back in front. Geoffrion taking a shot. Applicator shoots, blocked in front. And the puck cleared down by the Canadians. That'll be icing.
Icing.
Craig Hartsburg's got to be a bit concerned right now, Gord, because his team's not responding to some of the decisions he's been making. And one of them is they want to play an aggressive game on the American defense. 4 games in 5 nights for Team USA and 2 in less than 24 hours. They want to start wearing some of those defensemen down. They're not getting enough aggressive play out of their forecheck game because their shootings haven't been good and they haven't really been playing as a team. A bit disjointed.
Off the face-off, Nate Kirby with a quick shot, and Carey Price makes the stop.
And face-offs have become a big factor in this thing. And Craig Hartsburg's not messing around. Cogliano lost that draw, and he's going to send 3 different forwards out for this face-off to the right of Carey Price.
It'll be Taves, O'Mara, and Pyatt. And O'Mara will take the draw against Peter Mueller. Off the draw, the puck controlled by the Canadians, and this is Chris Letang. Up for Tom Pyatt. Pyatt being harassed by Stoll, sends it in deep. Crazy out to play it. And he gets it to Jack Johnson. To the line, not out. Letang battling for it. Final second in the period, Letang for Pyatt. Long drive, knocked down in front. So Taylor Chorney, the American captain, has the only goal so far. The United States with a 1-0 lead through 2 periods, and this the first of 2 semifinals of the 2007 World Junior Hockey Championship. So the third period begins 5-on-5. Canada down a goal. It's 16-game winning streak, and more importantly, it's 2-year run as World Junior Gold medalist at stake, and Steve Downey just gave Kyle Oposo a whack on the back of the leg and got away with it. Now another tug from Downey. And then Oposo gives him a whack back. Now Downey came up with a high stick. Got to be careful there.
Very careful.
If Ulf Rundmark turns around, and now Rundmark's talking to Brad Marchand on the other side, and Patrick Kane, 2 of the biggest pacifists in the tournament. And Oposo and Downey can hear the jaws. They move their way down the ice. Andrew Cogliano chips it in on Jeff Frazee. Into the corner, Marchand reaching for it. Cogliano for Marchand. Cogliano with the puck. Trying to walk out in front. Hooked there by Trevor Lewis. Comes in front. Downey put that wide.
But that's more what
Downey.
That's what Canada needs. Strong on the wall, forecheck, pressure, turnovers.
Oposo away with Lewis and Patrick Kane. 3-on-2 for the U.S. Oposo across the line, fires high and wide. And the puck bounces all the way back to the line. The lively boards combined with fresh ice make the puck very dangerous. Oposo taken down by Parent. No penalty coming up. Here's Oposo in the corner. Oposo back in front. Abdelkader chipped it wide. Price down. Puck still loose. Patrick Kane. Looking back with Eric Johnson. Now Johnson in the corner with Mark Stahl. 2 defensemen battling. Centering pass for Abdelkader. And Justin Abdelkader with it. Good pressure here by the U.S. in the opening moments of the third period. Oposo fires. Price makes the stop. Now on the other side, Stahl for O'Mara. Great wide pass from Brad Marchand. Just threw his stick at that puck and then goes off on the chain. Big hit there as O'Mara takes down Eric Johnson. And Blake Jeffrey bounces it down to Carey Price, and he'll hang on.
The last time Team USA and Team Canada hooked up, it was a 6-3 win for Canada. Steve Downey took a misconduct in the second period. Now, Steve Downey's an agitator. Kyle Oposo's an important player for Team USA. Look at the stick work of Downey, and then he says, I'll give you a little save. But he's also strong on the forecheck, and that's why Philadelphia made him a first-round pick. He can dominate on the boards, he can dominate in the slot, and he can finish plays off.
O'Mara gets sent out. Jonathan Taves in to take the draw. Controlled by Abdelkader. But O'Mara's up with it. And away comes Canada. Tom Pyatt with O'Mara and Taves. Pyatt had that shot blocked by Jack Johnson. No one can find the puck.
It's in Johnson's pants,
I think it's in Johnson's equipment. Yes, there it drops out.
When you don't win a lot of faceoffs, and Canada was 500 with Team USA in the second period, you have to have guys that are on a plan. You see O'Mara fight through right there, Gord. He had a plan. He knew what he had to do on the lost faceoff. Canada gets a puck, and they're able to go on the attack and get their forecheck going.
O'Mara wins that draw. Letang had his shot blocked by Blake Jeffrey on. Jack Johnson lays it up for Justin Abdelkader. Looked back in by Letang, and Frazee got in the way of that. Threw that to the corner. Luc Bourdon. Across for Chris Letang. Canadian captain knocks it down to the American zone. Kyle Lawson banks it right back out. Chris Russell for Letang. Fires it in deep. Jack Skilly hammered Letang. Russell with it. Sets it up. Winds and fires. Shot blocked in front again. Kyle Lawson got in the way of that. The Americans blocking shots by the handful. Taves goes down that clearing attempt. Taves shoots. Frazee makes the stop. A bullet shot from Jonathan Taves. Taves in the corner with it. With Cleach. Helm walks up. Fires. Just misses high and wide.
All this off a good forecheck pressure.
Alsner for Helm. Nate Gerby chips that out. And back to pick it up is Brian Little for Russell. Up ahead for Helm. Steaming in. Darren Helm shoots. Frazee the save. Helm goes battling for the rebound. And it's scooped up by Jack Johnson. Up along the boards for Ryan Stoa. And Chris Russell goes back to pick it up. Through the middle. Cleach chips that down. Frazee had trouble with it. Gives it right away to Little. Fires. Save made by Frazee. Little taken down. Penalty coming up to the U.S. Back at the line. It bounces by Stahl right down to the Canadian goal. And Stahl has to hustle back. That just missed by a couple of feet. And now Stahl gets back. Puck has still not been touched by the United States. That was close. Parrott off the stick of Stoa. And finally, Brian Lee touched it. Canada to the power play when we come back.
Canada's playing a little bit more the way they want to. Shoot the puck in. Brian Little gets a chance, keeps the play alive, then he draws a penalty. That's a good job. Make sure you get pucks in deep, and then Canada very lucky that puck doesn't go in. Sean Zimmerman in the box for Team USA.
Canada just 5 shots on goal on 6 power plays. Cody Francis from the faceoff shoots at the puck's just wide. And the firing away, but the Americans blocking everything in sight. Back it goes to Francis. Across to Chris Russell. Down to Steve Downey. That bounced away from him. Eric Johnson races to it and fires it down. 3:45 gone here in the third period. Canada down 1-0. Cogliano had that bounce off his stick. Jack Johnson sends it out. Marchand comes across the line, but they called delayed offside. And now Mike Carmen has that glove down by Brad Marchand. Waits for Cogliano to get back onside. Comes jumping across the line. In comes Marchand with Downey. At the line, Cody Franson. Russell to the middle with Franson. Franson through traffic, blocked again by Carmen. Now back to a pass for Cogliano. Back to Franson. He's got Carmen watching him. Cogliano with it. Andrew Cogliano back to Franson. Has time. Again, Carmen sprawls. Plays it down to Russell. Shoots at the puck wide. Also trying to play that in front. Kyle Lawson got in the way. Now Cogliano back with it. Blocks out in front. Shoots. Blocked by Jack Johnson.
Story of the game so far. The Americans blocking all these shots.
Cody Franson along to Cogliano. Laying it down to Russell. Fires to the front. Downey trying to get a tip. That goes wide. Marchand. Back he goes to Russell. Russell shoots. Just misses. 30 seconds to go in the power play, and the puck comes all the way out.
Long shift again for Cogliano, Downey, and Marchand.
And Downey had that bounce away. Canada looks for a change as Downey goes on. In comes Tom Pyatt, racing in his Pyatt, shoots, Frazee makes the glove stop with Jonathan Taves standing there looking for the rebound.
Canada getting more chances here in the third period, Gord, because they're starting to rev up their engine and getting the simplified forecheck game going. They're playing more as a team. Darren Helm doing a good job though for Team Canada. Downey earlier in the game, right to Little in the second period, can't finish it off. And Cody Franson from the point, just missing the left post. Steve Downey again battling down low. Canada doing a better job though, getting retrieval on shoot-ins, getting forecheck pressure, forcing Frazee into making some saves.
And again, Taves wins that draw with his feet, and so play is called. The United States has the schedule working against it. 4th game in 5 days, played last night up in Mora in the quarterfinal. Canada's been off this Sunday. Bordeaux in front, that deflects just wide. Back to Letang, final second of the power play. Taves back to Bordeaux, shoots, and Frazee makes the glove soft. Frazee comes across with the glove again.
And you see, you talked about the fatigue factor. 88 is Mueller, and he's a big-time player for the Americans, but Canada's been putting a lot of physicality on him. So you watch 88 to the right of your screen. He comes up, Bordeaux moves a little bit to his left, and Mueller can't get in the shooting avenue. That forces Frazee into a big save. You can break down players and show their fatigue, especially when you start moving.
Came out, that allows Zimmerman to come back on the ice. And the teams are back to 5-on-5. 5.5 gone here in the third period. Ryan Lee looking for it up for Trevor Lewis. Lewis bounces it down to the Canadian zone for Kyle Oposo. Oposo fires. That goes well wide of the goal. Sam Gagner back out there for Canada. Eligible player wearing number 38. Here's Gagne with it. Up for Letang. For Taves. Jonathan Taves. And Brian Lee rode him into the corner. Lee and Taves, teammates at North Dakota. That puck bounced out in front. Kyle Lawson picked it up to the U.S. And Lawson works his way ahead slowly with Trevor Lewis. Lewis picks his way across the line. That drive from well out, steered away by Price. Banging away at it. It's knocked out by Brian Little. And Jack Johnson taps it up for Kyle Oposo. Oposo works his way in. Oposo still with it. Poke check by Marc-Andre Cliche. And the American straggler Trevor Lewis was caught inside the zone, and so the Americans have to back off. Parrott up for Marc-Andre Cliche. Fires it down, Darren Helm. This line's had lots of chances for Canada this afternoon. Parrott races back but can't keep it in, as it goes all the way down to the Canadian zone, icing the call against the U.S.
Canada needs somebody to step up and be a hero. One of those guys could be Jonathan Taves. The last time these two teams played, Taves had 2 goals.
Jack Skilly racing that loose puck. Alsner up to Andrew Cogliano. That bounced away from him. And Downey with it. Racing in with Neal and Cogliano. It bounced off Downey's stick. Chris Russell reaches in, had to wait for Cogliano to get back on side. Abdelkader. He was poke checked, and Downey collided hard with Blake Geoffrion. Price leaves it there for Russell. Up for James Neal. Through the middle, Blake Geoffrion got in the way of that. And we'll call that a glove pass. You're watching the World Junior Hockey Championship on TSN.
And talk about Jonathan Taves. You remember early in the tournament against Sweden, he had his face plastered into the wall, and against Slovakia, he went screaming hard on the wall on the tail end of that game. Maybe he's not 100%. Gord looking a little bit frustrated right now.
Out there for the face-off. Down to the Slovak Trevor Lewis of the U.S. Out of the Slovak zone. Bala Slovak zone. Bourdon for Letang. And here's Letang with Luc Bourdon. Chris Letang. 2 goals in the NHL this season for Pittsburgh. Across the line with Taves, but that was offside.
Jonathan Taves in the last game, we talked about it against Slovakia, goes in a foot race situation, and he goes screaming into the wall. That's against Balic, who's a big player, potential first-round pick from Slovakia. Taves goes down, and they said it was just a bruised knee at the time, Gord, but you see the way Jonathan's playing right now, and he doesn't look like he's got that extra gear that he had earlier in the tournament.
Kyle Oposo away with Trevor Lewis and Pat Kane. In comes Oposo. Working down low, back to the side of the net, and Ryan Parrott knocked it away from him. O'Mara up for Taves with Tom Pyatt. And Taves rips it down in the American zone. Here's Pyatt. Gets there first for Taves. Jonathan Taves in front for O'Mara. Couldn't get a good shot away. Taves clubbed down Patrick Kane, got away with it. Americans hollering about that. Johnson back for Taylor Chorney, the American goal scorer. And it gets by Patrick Kane, icing waved off. No, it was not, pardon me. And we'll be back down in the American zone.
Second-round pick of the Edmonton Oilers. Plays at the University of North Dakota. Teammates with Jonathan Taves. In the second period, he whipped one right in. He's the guy that's been a difference maker here for the Americans. Just whipping it off of Mark Stahl. He's going for the cross-crease feed to Gerby, but it goes off Stahl's right skate and past Carey Price.
From the face-off, Chris Letang shoots. That deflects off a skate line. Cliche for Brian Little. Little tied up by Peter Mueller. Mueller trying to bank that out. It gets over Little and out. Luc Bourdon being watched there by Nate Gerby. Gerby with the steal, but Letang hustles back. Little. And that get by him. Mueller in for Ryan Stoa. He was a member of that under-18 team that won gold in the Czech Republic in '05 as well. 10 of those Americans on that team that beat Canada in the gold medal game. Cliche comes jumping in. That bounced away from him. Letang for Bourdon. Luc Bourdon spinning away from Peter Mueller. Up for Letang. Cliche chips it down in the American zone. Brian Little goes looking for it against Brian Lee. Zimmerman up quickly, flips that high in the air, looking for Ryan Stoa. And Chris Russell knocked it down for Alsner. Alsner spun away from Stoa and back for Russell. Downey back out there with Cogliano and Marchand.
Penalty coming to USA.
And down is Downey right in front of the penalty box. And it's going to be Mike Carmen going off for the United States.
So why would they blow the whistle? Just because Downey was down, I guess, for protective
Downey was
reasons.
injured.
Happens in the neutral zone. Downey moves a puck, and then he gets hit. Oh, blow to the head. Carmen comes up and hits Downey in the head.
And the reason the whistle was blown was that Downey was down on the ice. So off goes Mike Carmen. Canada 0 for 7 on the power play in the hockey game. 7 shots on goal, and I would venture to say, Pierre, that the United States has 3 times that many blocks on the Canadian power play.
And it's been standard operating procedure for the Americans. That's really been their big penalty killing scheme. Get in the shooting avenue, block shots. They've been only giving up 4 power play goals this whole tournament, Gordon. A major reason why is not so much the goaltending. They just block a ton of shots.
Blake Jeffrey on one that draw, and the Americans whip it down the ice. Letang and Bourdon on the back end. Taves, Sam Gagner, Tom Pyatt up front. In comes Jonathan Taves. Taves setting it up. Back the line to Letang. Chris Letang through traffic off the pad of Frazee and wide. And Letang can't hold it.
Canada should keep trying to push the pedal to the metal here because the fatigue factor should set in at some point for the Americans.
Bourdon takes it off the boards. Gagner gets there first for Canada. Sam Gagner for Jonathan Taves. Gagner goes to the front of the goal. Here's Taves working his way in. Jeffrey on fell. And Taves shot off an American defender and wide.
Jack Johnson right in the shooting avenue, blocking that on Jonathan Taves.
Price, long lead pass to Gagner. Trying to drop it there for Letang. Eric Johnson at the line, kept in by Gagner. Back in front, tipped off the goal post by Downey.
Taylor Turner just got away with a cross-check to the back of Steve Downey.
And a great chance for the Canadians. Downey on the tip. Letang comes barreling in. Chris Letang down for Cogliano. Back in front, too far for Downey. He was all alone in front. Back to pick it up is Russell. 40 seconds left in the power play. The book on this Canadian team coming into the tournament was that it might be goal challenged, and it has been in the semifinal against the U.S. And that puck goes up into the
Jeffrey
American
going to
bench.
get a penalty for interference in the neutral zone. Canada's going to have 29 seconds of 5-on-3. And the referee, Ulf Rundmark, knows he missed the Chorney cross-check on Downey. And you'll see it. He's looking right at it. The puck comes in. Downey's in all alone. Gagner does a good job controlling the puck. Americans can't get it out. Keep it in. Put it on puck. Now watch how the cross-check to the back of Downey. He misses that. Then in the neutral zone, Blake Jeffrey steps up on Downey. They call that interference, but he knows he missed the cross-check earlier on that sequence.
So here's your chance. 5-on-3, 10:56 gone in the third period. Little, Cogliano, Downey. The face-off was won by Fraser and then fired out.
Got to bear down on those face-offs if you're Cogliano. You just can't lose that thing clean.
Russell and Letang on the back end, and in comes Chris Russell. 4 goals for Canada. Russell setting it up. 10 seconds to go in the first penalty. Russell to Letang. Back for Russell. Down low, Downey. Walks in, fires. Frazee makes the save. Cogliano was looking for the pass back door. Downey falls. Russell sets it up. Carmen out of the box. Russell shoots. Blocked in front. Loose puck. Bounce behind Little. And racing to it was Fraser to send it down. Up it comes for Letang.
Offside.
And that plays offside at the American line. Now Letang gets a stick up with Brian Lee.
Very important Canada doesn't get goaded into taking any penalties because, you know, Ulf Rundmark's looking just for anything now in terms of retaliation. Very important you just concentrate on the goal. The goal right now for Canada is to get back in the game and score a goal. Craig Hartsburg knows that. The players know that as well.
Ron Ralston is talking to Ulf Rundmark. And this is again the ongoing battle about the last change, which has been going on all afternoon. From the face-off, this is Gagner with Taves and Pyatt. Minute 15 to go in the Canadian power play. Jack Johnson on the boards, kept in by Letang. Across he goes for Bourdon. He's being watched, so Letang waits, shoots, shot blocked by Carmen. In the feet of Carmen, Letang plays that down in front, and it's banked out by Taylor Jordan.
It's basically the same guys, Carmen and Sweat, that are just overplaying on the Canadian defenders. Canada hasn't made the adjustment to make the down low play. Americans are doing a real good job taking away the shooting avenue from the point.
In comes Russell. Banks it down for Jonathan Toews. Has time. Plays it across Russell. Back to Bordeaux. Fire, scores! Luc Bordeaux ties it for Canada.
And why that shot's not blocked, it's a one-timer. And they're not happy. They think a Canadian player was in the crease, but they're going to still count this goal. It's a one-timer. If you one-time the puck, as Canada should have done earlier and more often, you're going to get pucks through when teams try to get in the lane and shoot. Stoic can't react quick enough. Stoic's too slow getting over. Nobody's in the crease. Sam Gagner is battling down low. He's not in the crease. That's a good goal. And Frazie's upset. But that's what you have to do, and that's the adjustment Canada had to make. More one-timers so the Americans couldn't get in the lane. That's the reaction you want. Now Canada has to be smart, Greg. Don't take the penalty. Keep dictating the terms, getting pucks in deep. You'll force the Americans, who are a fatigued team, to take a penalty. Chorney's coming over to talk to Runmark, saying they interfered with Frazee. You watch that again, and you be honest. Nobody touches Frazee. Nobody's in the crease. That's a good goal by Bordeaux. Good desperation by Canada.
8th power play of the game finally brings a goal for Canada, and it's 1-1 with 7:40 to go here in the third period. Canada with new life. Darren Helm comes barreling in, fires. Frazee makes the stop, and he'll pounce on the rebound. Tie game in the semifinals of the World Junior Hockey Championship. Cleach falls, and Brian Lee picks it up for the U.S. Ryan Stoa plays that through center ice. Kirby got taken down. And every time someone falls, everyone's eyes in the building turn to referee Ulf Runmark.
And the Americans weren't happy. They're saying Sam Gagner's in the crease. But you look at Frazee trying to come out and challenge on Bordeaux. 38 in white is Gagner. He's not in the blue, and the puck's already passed. Never in the blue. The appropriate call is made. Frazee can be mad. That's a little bit of gamesmanship. But Bordeaux with the big shot, and Gagner providing a little bit of a screen, battling down low.
John Torchetti, the coach in Moncton, where Bordeaux played, called him after he was sent back by the Canucks. Said, you want a few days off? He says, we're playing tomorrow night, right? He says, yeah. He says, well, I'm in. 4 points.
Yep.
From the face-off, Kyle Oposo battling with Chris Letang. Oposo back for Jack Johnson. Letang got in the way of that. Here's Downey. Feed that through the middle for Andrew Cogliano. 7 minutes to go in the third period in the 1-1 game. If they're tied through regulation, 10-minute overtime, then, if necessary, a 3-round shootout. Not 5, but a 3-round shootout. And then after that, it would be single rounds until a winner was declared. Marchand up ahead for Andrew Cogliano. Barreling in is Cogliano. Poke check there by Kyle Lawson. Back in the corner. Downey had to get away from him, and this is Jack Johnson. Up ahead for Kyle Oposo. Canada changing. Oposo across the line. Harassed from behind by Marchand. Shot blocked by Toews. And Toews knocks it up for O'Mara. With Marchand. Brad Marchand breaking in. Marchand falls in front of Jack Johnson. And Taylor Chorney battling for him. O'Mara works his way in front. Nifty move by O'Mara. In comes O'Mara. Back in the corner. Plays it back for Mark Stahl. Through travel to hit Jonathan Toews. And Jack Johnson picks it up.
That's a long shift for Jack Johnson. Very long shift.
Every shift now a knee knocker in a 1-1 game in the third period. Jack Skilly back to the line. He goes. Jordy fires just off the side of the net. Back in front. Jack Skilly picks it up. Toews lifts that high off the glass and out. Skilly gathers it back up. In comes Jack Skilly. Shoots. Carey Price makes the glove save, but he'll hang on.
Skilly launches one on Carey Price. He's very calm, but he wasn't this calm on the Taylor Chorney chance. Chorney's a goal scorer for the Americans. He shoots it right through a screen, and that just passed the left post. Carey Price, fortunate team. Canada, fortunate. Skilly's a grinding player, a first-round pick of Chicago. He does a good job getting that puck out to Chorney, who launches it on goal. Carey Price, oh, God, he's been a huge story for Canada this whole tournament. And again, it's just because of how calm he's been.
Darren Helm won that face-off for Canada. Russell up for Letang. Chris Letang picks his way ahead. Long drive. Frazee juggles it and plays it back. Now turned over to Dan Bertram. Bertram. Helm left it there. Zimmerman in a foot race with Marc-Andre Cleach. Cleach for Helm. Battling with Mueller. Helm. Still battling in the corner. Helm falls. still with it. Darren held in front, taken down, no penalty coming. Lee's lost his stick. Back to the line it goes. Whipped across to Letang. Letang works his way in. Letang shoots. He puts it high. Letang back down low. Great pressure by the Canadians. Under 5 to go in the third period. Helm leaves it there. Canada desperate for a change. Cleach goes racing to the bench. Helm still out there along with Bertram.
The Americans are desperate for a change too. Canada's got fresh legs on the ice. The Americans don't.
Cogliano back out there. Taps it back for Stahl. Mark Stahl just missed Bertram. That would have been too many men. Crazy. Whips that high off the glass for Gerby, and he hacks it out.
Gerby can't get off, neither can Mueller.
Fired back in by Parrott. Gerby still stranded. James Neal steps up. Here comes Neal. Works his way in front. The puck hit the back of the net.
Americans should ice the puck right now.
Oposo in with Gerby. And Gerby finally peels off and heads off. Ryan Parrott trying to clear it up. Oposo gets in the way. Loose puck in front. Oposo dropping it back for Patrick Kane. He replaced Gerby. Mark Stahl hammers down Trevor Lewis.
Call that an eraser.
And Stahl lifts that high in the air from the wrong side of center ice. That'll be icing against Canada. 3:43 to go in the third. 1-1 game.
Face off to the left of Carey Price. Jonathan Toews is going to take this thing, and it's real important that Jonathan Toews bear down. If he's not going to win it against Abdelkader, at least draw so he can get some support from the wings. There's the support.
Face-off control by Toews. Knocks it back to Chris Russell. O'Mara out there along with Pyatt and Toews. Toews was stripped of the puck. It bounces down at center ice. O'Mara knocks it back for Russell. Abdelkader's all over him. Letang.
Short bench now. Letang playing with Russell.
O'Mara gloves it down. He had a great chance a moment ago. Taylor Chorney banking that along the wall and gets it out. Chris Russell fires that in. Frazee knocked it to the corner, but that play was offside. And the face-off will come all the way down to the Canadian zone.
It's the first time we've seen that all tournament.
Well, it's deliberate offside, they call it. And so the face-off back down to the Canadian end. Later on this evening here in Leksand, 7:30 local time, it'll be Russia against Sweden in the second semifinal. It could be right after this game. Mueller versus Cleach. And again, the play is called as a player won the draw with his feet.
I think they're going to call Canada actually going into the circle too soon, so Cleach has to get called out. Nonetheless, they've got 2 right-hand shots. That's a good news for it.
Bertram versus Mueller. And Bertram wins that draw. Ryan Parrott being harassed by Gerby. Gerby streaking in there, gets it for Ryan Stoa. Stoa down for Gerby. Looking in front, Nate Gerby. He gets loose. Cleach steps into him. Gerby still battling. Down low he goes. Mueller for it. Peter Mueller. Sprawling is Mark Stahl. Mueller. Back in the line he goes. Zimmerman shoots. Carey Price makes the stop and hangs on. And more pushing and shoving breaks out in front of Carey Price as every inch of ice now being contested.
Yeah, you're right, and it's all about the little things. Again, Canada wins the draw. They just can't get the puck out, and that leads to the Zimmerman shot on goal. Price does a good job fighting through traffic, and the Canadian defenders, Parent and Stahl, do a nice job not taking a penalty. The Americans know this is desperation time for them as well as the Canes, but they haven't had a lot of offensive flow.
Lewis wins the draw. That shot by Kyle Lawson drifts high and wide.
And so one of the ways of establishing offensive flow is winning faceoffs.
Downey up for Toews. In comes Toews with Downey. Jonathan Toews on Jack Johnson. Toews still with it. Toews fighting for that loose puck. Now Toews in the corner. Down low for Cogliano. Cogliano trying to play that in front off the leg of Lewis. Toews with it. Plays it back for Letang. In front, chipped on goal by Downey, and Jeff Frazee made the stop. Kane. Up he goes for Lewis, gets by Oposo. And Letang goes back, icing waved off. And then Letang plays that over the glass. It deflected off a stick and out of play.
And here's why we're tied up. It's a power play situation for Canada. It's a good job by Chris Russell. The one-timer by Luc Bourdon. Flat as a pancake so he can tee it out over the shoulder of Jeff Frazee with the screen from Sam Gagner.
We're going to get the United States too, Pierre.
Oh,
after a tough game last night, 4 in 5 days, an afternoon game after a night game last night. There's something to be said, Pierre, for youthful exuberance.
Youthful exuberance and rivalry. A lot to be said. You're absolutely right.
Russell banks it there for Stahl. 2 minutes left in this third period. A 1-1 game. O'Mara Lost the puck to Chorney. In comes Taylor Chorney. Backhands that pass for Skilly. Skilly gets loose behind the Canadian goal. Skilly still with it. Sends it back off the skate of Eric Johnson and out. And now Johnson backhands it back in as the Americans tag up onside. Russell kicks his way ahead, flips it down the American zone. Jeffrey on gloves it down. And Letang waited for Russell to get off the ice, or that was too many men. Letang up for Darren Helm. Helm across the line with Cleach. Cleach fires, just missed far side. Bertram reaches for it, can't hang on. Back the other way come the American. Jack Skilly barreling in on Bordeaux. Skilly still with it. At the line, Jack Johnson shoots. That hit Trevor Lewis. Helm was trying to skate away with a breakaway. Couldn't knock it down. Puck loose in front. Bordeaux reaches for it and banks it out.
This is great theater.
Wow. What a hockey game between Canada and the United States. Darren Helm picks his way across the line with Cleach. He was poke checked by Lawson. And it's now for an odd man rush for the Americans. Lewis in across the line. Carey Price hangs on to that. 43 seconds left here in the third period. Pierre, put these two teams on small ice and play a 7-game series, and I'll give you 7 sellouts anywhere they play.
It'd be a lot of fun. And players like Taylor Chorney know that. I mean, this is what they dream of. A lot of these players, this will be some of the biggest games some of them ever play.
Mueller versus Taves on the faceoff in the Canadian zone. Taves won the faceoff. Taves all over him. Up it goes to Cogliano with Downey. Andrew Cogliano across the line with Downey. Cogliano still with it. Andrew Cogliano shovels that wide of the goal. Kane with it. Under 30 to go now in the third period. Cogliano jumps up with Taves. Cogliano trying to chip it there for Taves. Jack Johnson got in the way. Eric Johnson rather. Now Cogliano with it. Taves knocked away. Chorney knocked that in front. And Peter Mueller whips that out of harm's way. Icing waved off as Parent goes back. Ryan Stoa watching him. Taps it back for Stahl. Final seconds of the third, and Canada and the United States are going to overtime in the semifinals of the World Junior Hockey Championship. And we'll be back with the extra period and maybe even a shootout right after this. Cogliano and Downey up front for Canada in this 4-on-4. It's Lewis and Oposo for the States. 10 minutes of sudden death overtime. The next goal sends the winner to the gold medal game here on Friday. Kyle Lawson fires it down to the Canadian zone. Letang turned that over to Kyle Oposo. He's got Letang on him at the line. Kicked the line by Jack Johnson. Shoots, and Carey Price makes the stop.
The last time the Americans played an overtime game was in this tournament against Team Sweden. The guy that got the winning goal on the power play was Jack Johnson. So Ron Ralston's going with a little bit of a hunch, getting Jack Johnson out there early on, trying to capitalize.
Americans lost in overtime in their tournament opener against Germany. Jack Johnson's goal was the difference between the United States playing in the medal round and going into the relegation side had they lost to Sweden. Abdelkader wins that draw, but it gets by Taylor Chorney and out. Eric Johnson back for Taylor Chorney. Abdelkader, long drive, and Carey Price hangs on to that easily.
You know, it was a power play situation for the Americans against the Swedes. Jack Johnson taking advantage of a turnover by the Swedes. It's good puck movement. Eric Johnson, Jack Johnson.
The Americans, who lost their first 2 games, are here in overtime in the semifinals. The United States trying to become the first team to win the gold medal with 2 losses. The second team, rather, win the gold medal with 2 losses. The first to win the gold medal after losing the first 2. The only team to lose twice and win the gold, Russia, in 0-2 in the Czech Republic. Ryan Parent backs off. Abdelkader with Kane snuck in behind the Canadian defense, but Jonathan Taves reached back and took it away from him. Oh, man.
Baby, was it ever close. And what there was a little bit of indecision. Stahl had gone in, so Parent didn't want to pinch down. And so Parent just took his time, and the quick long reach by Taves put Kane offside. That could have been scary for Canada.
Patrick Kane leading the Americans in scoring with 8 points. He's got 4 goals in his last 3 games.
Climbing up the draft rating's huge, boy.
Peter Mueller Jumping in for the U.S. Here is Mueller. Fires. Carey Price makes the stop on that. U.S. with 3 quick shots here to open this overtime.
Very important. Now you're going to see Ofer unmarked. He's going to talk to Christopher Letang and Peter Mueller. They were jousting at the end of that sequence, and he's telling them, you know what, fellas? You guys are both too good. I don't want to throw you out. Mind your manners.
Face off to the right of Carey Price. 1:08 gone in the 10-minute overtime. Off the face-off, Cleach taps it back for Chris Letang. Chris Russell races to that loose puck, turns it over at the line. Chorney, or rather Lawson, and he couldn't backhand it back in. Lawson has to retreat with Brian Little on him. Mueller with it. Up for Lee to Gerby. And Price drops that down for Russell, skated by the puck. And now Russell barrels his way ahead. Gerby steps into him. Russell still with it, taken down the line.
No penalty, just offside.
Everyone looked back at
everybody's like, whoa, is that a penalty? That was the linesman who made the call. How about the skating ability of Russell? We're into the overtime period, and Russell's in a foot race with Gerby, who's a very quick player. That just shows you how fast this little man is. And I really believe Chris Russell, because of that extra speed, will play someday for the Columbus Blue Jackets in the NHL, even though he's a bit undersized, Greg. He's got that heart, he's got the desire, he's got the offensive instincts, and he has the speed.
Chorney plays it back for Carmen. Taylor Chorney, the American captain, he's got their goal. In comes Chorney. Chorney working his way in. Carmen fanned that chance. Skilly looking for it. Now Carmen in the corner. Plays it back for Skilly. Skilly back for Jack Johnson. Taps it down behind the Canadian goal. Luc Bourdon waiting for it. Skilly's on him. 2 Americans down low. Ryan Parent races to that loose puck. Plays it back out to center ice. And Skilly with it. Cogliano and Downey are the Canadian forwards. In comes Carmen. Mike Carmen on Luc Bourdon. Poke checked him neatly.
Not fitting.
And Downey with it. Lots of open ice. Downey trying to get around Kyle Oposo. In comes Downey with Cogliano. Downey across the line. They call it offside on Cogliano.
You know what? I think this is a marginal call, and maybe the linesman was screened out, but we're sitting almost on top of the blue line, and Cogliano looked like he dragged his tail foot. But they're, you know, they call everything very, very tight. These guys care. I mean, that's the thing that's amazing is the passion level, and these guys are playing for the right reasons right now, Gordon. You can see it.
Daves wins the drawback. Chris Russell plays it down in the American zone. Eric Johnson up for Kyle Oposo. And Taves gives him a buck. O'Mara comes racing up. Backs it back to Russell. Canada changing. Taves broke his stick. Trevor Lewis plays it ahead. Off the bench is Tom Pyatt for Canada. In comes Oposo. Kyle Oposo fires. Carey Price gets a pat on that. Down it goes to Lewis. Lewis lost the puck to Mark Stahl. Stahl barreling away. 3-on-2 for Canada. In comes Stahl. Sets it in front. O'Mara shoots. Hit the near side of the net. O'Mara back to the line. Chris Letang comes stepping up. Stahl making his way off. Letang fires it wide of the goal. Back out the other way it comes. A race for it. Oposo lost that race to Ryan O'Mara. And Eric Johnson goes back as both teams get in a chain. Eric Johnson up for Patrick Kane. He was the Ontario Hockey League's leading scorer when he left for the U.S. camp. Now second. Helm out there with Cleach. Darren Helm chipping it ahead for Cleach. And that's offside again at the American line.
Short benches for both teams right now, and sometimes the role players like Cleach matter in 4-on-4 situations because they want to get him out there against Kane, who's now leaving the ice. But Craig Hartsburg can't make any changes with his forwards. The Americans will come with some fresh legs right now. Derby and Mueller on the ice against Helm and Cleach.
Helm battling for that draw. Mueller won it. Just over 6 minutes remaining in the overtime. Jack Johnson with it. In comes Jack Johnson across the line, working on Letang. Johnson plays it back for Mueller. Has time, fires, Price makes a save, loose puck, Gerby bats at it. Still loose, and the puck did not cross the line. And a traffic jam in front of Carey Price. Helm was poke check. Price has lost his goal stick. Price doesn't have a goal stick. Mueller ahead for Jack Johnson. Across the line is Jack Johnson.
Oh no, penalty to Letang, got a high stick on Johnson.
Johnson cut. And now the United States will go to the power play in overtime in the semifinal.
Letang, it's a simple one-on-one situation. He has to avoid the goal stick of Carey Price. And he tries to avoid it, but his stick comes up. He's in a one-on-one. He knows who came up with his stick. He's trying to avoid the goal stick, so the stick comes up just a little bit. And there's the call. And it's a tough play for Letang. He knows the goal stick's there. He doesn't want to hit it, and the stick comes up.
Ron Ralston calls timeout at the American bench. This will be a 4-on-3 power play. The Americans had one in the first period and had 3 tremendous chances. And there's Phil Housley, the longtime NHL player, and a guy who knows a thing or two about a power play, drawing it out.
He did the very same thing before the Americans scored against Sweden. He was the guy running the bench, and he was basically putting the plan in place.
Canada's captain Letang goes off. Johnson got cut. And he's wondering why it's not a 5-minute penalty to Letang.
Faceoffs matter. Now, you remember the Americans and the Canadians was a 5-on-3. Jonathan Toews won a big faceoff in the first period of that game. Letang was able to clear the puck, and that got Canada going with their aggressive forecheck. This faceoff's critical.
4:23 left in the overtime period. Canada now shorthanded with Letang in the box. Toews out there along with Stahl and Perrin. It's Oposo, Kane, Eric Johnson, Peter Mueller for the U.S. And Toews wins that drop. Perrin backhands it out.
Toews did such a good job directing Perrin where he was going to put the puck. Toews was on his forehand. He's a left-hand shot, and he did exactly what he wanted to do.
Mueller across the line for Kyle Oposo. And Oposo sets it up. It's a 4-on-3. Mueller crisscrossing with Eric Johnson. Mueller across to Eric Johnson. Now Johnson to the middle. Being watched by Toews. Down low for Kane. Back to Mueller. Mueller waits. Now down for Kane. Kane works his way in. Back down for Eric Johnson. He's got time. Johnson looking in front for Oposo. Johnson walks back in front. Back for Mueller. To Kane. No shot yet. Now Mueller fires. That was blocked by Jonathan Toews. Stahl racing to that puck, couldn't get to it. Gets a stick on Kane, just keeps it in. Kane walking in, plays it down for Eric Johnson. Decides not to shoot, back in front off the leg of Perrin. Eric Johnson with it, back in front. Johnson shoots off a leg, and Carey Price got a piece of it.
With his own man, Oposo.
Peter Mueller with it. Great pressure for the U.S. Under a minute to go in the power play. Mueller works his way in. Mueller still with it. Back for Eric Johnson, fires, that goes wide. Mueller back at the line now, 45 seconds of the power play. Mueller, Johnson shoots, didn't get all of it. Canada racing for it. Perrin to the line and out. And the Canadian players at the bench urging that puck to leave the zone.
Perrin's still out there.
Mueller with it. Peter Mueller for Eric Johnson. 30 seconds of the power play. Mueller across to Johnson. Waits, shoots, tries to save. Rebound. Oposo had it taken away by Pyatt. Back in front. Johnson waits, shoots. What a stop by Price. Perrin with it. With the backhand. Can't get it out. Eric Johnson. Final seconds of the power play. Johnson works his way in. Plays it across for Mueller. Now Mueller across to Johnson. Eric Johnson shoots. Price makes the stop.
Perrin's out of gas. That's why he can't get the puck out.
Letang out of the box. Eric Johnson shoots back door. Feed for Kane. He knocked it wide. Now Pyatt. U.S. is changing. On comes Pyatt on Eric Johnson. Pyatt shoots. That's off a stick over the glass and out of play. And that was 2 of the grittiest minutes you will ever see.
Ryan Perrin's going to need an oxygen tent over there. He was on the full 2 minutes. But it's Carey Price staying with it. Eric Johnson coming over. Carey Price shuffling along the ice. And then Eric Johnson with a quick release. And that's why Perrin couldn't get the puck out. He was on the full 2 minutes of that kill because he was a right defenseman.
Cogliano, Downey, Letang, and Russell come out for Canada. Off the face-off, Downey racing for it. And Taylor Chorney gets there. 3:20 to go in the overtime. Jack Johnson moves it back for Taylor Chorney. Jack Johnson, I would venture to say, has played 35 minutes a game for the last 3 games for the U.S. And he backhands it out. Trevor Lewis plays it down to the Canadian zone. In comes Chris Russell for it. Russell has time, being watched by Lewis, plays it ahead. And Downey chips it down to the American line. In comes Gerby with Lewis. Nate Gerby works his way in, fires, that goes well wide. All the way out the other side. Lee almost played that before Chorney came on. And Hartsburg screaming at the referee, it was too many men. Jack Johnson. Through the middle. For Lewis. Trevor Lewis with Nate Gerby. In comes Lewis. Fires, just missed on the far side. Jack Johnson lays it down in deep. 2.5 to go in the overtime. A shootout looming in the semifinal. Luc Bourdon, the Canadian goal scorer, brings it ahead. In comes Bourdon. Bourdon trying to get around Jack Johnson. Out the other side it comes to Brian Little. Little spins away from Brian Lee. Little still with it. Bourdon heads off. Back he goes to Mark Stahl. Down low for Marc-Andre Cliche. Russell off the bench. And Cliche couldn't play that out in front. Mike Carmen barreling across the line. In comes Carmen. And Little took that away from him. U.S. changing. Stahl taken down by Skilly. And Marc-Andre Cliche comes back for Stahl. Under 2 to go now in the overtime. Brian Little. Skilly all over him. In come the Americans. Carmen. Mike Carmen gave that away to Little. Canada changing. In comes Little. Waiting for help to arrive off the bench. Little. Backdoor pass just missed Taves. Jonathan Taves with it. 1.5 to go in the overtime. Kyle Lawson. And it's tapped back for Eric Johnson. Johnson for Lawson. Pyatt and Taves up front for Canada. Eric Johnson with it. Johnson trying to bank it there for Mueller. Poke check by Letang. In comes Taves with Pyatt. Tom Pyatt across the line. In comes Pyatt. Pyatt shoots. Straight to the save. Rebound cleared away by Eric Johnson. Under a minute to go in overtime. Letang fires. Straight to the save. Loose puck in front and Pyatt can't get there.
Tommy Pyatt's got some live legs coming off. He takes a relay from Jonathan Taves in the neutral zone and he drives wide with speed, trying to work on Taylor Chorney. He puts one on Frazee. Frazee a little weak, bad clear. Another second chance for Letang. He puts it on goal, but Frazee freezes it up.
Downey for the face-off out there along with Cogliano, Russell, and Bourdon. And the face-off won by Trevor Lewis. Jack Johnson spins away from Downey. Away comes Johnson. Jack Johnson barreling in on Bourdon, spins back, tries to play that in front. Downey got in the way and almost got away. Chris Russell hustles back, taps it there for Andrew Cogliano. And Cogliano comes racing ahead. Cogliano trying to get around Chorney, can't. 30 seconds to go in the overtime. Trevor Lewis plays it ahead for Patrick Kane off the bench. Kane for Jack Johnson. Johnson shoots and save made by Carey Price.
Got to be careful when you go for a skate at this time of the game. Andrew Cogliano goes for a bit of a skate. The Canadian players are a little bit tired. That gives open access to the Americans into the zone. See Cogliano coming late. Carey Price coming up with another glove save off Jack Johnson.
Face off to the right of Carey Price. It'll be Marc-Andre Cliche to take the draw against Peter Mueller. Mueller wins it. Oposo back at the line. Jack Johnson shot blocked by Darren Helm. And Helm away with Cliche. Darren Helm in across the line. Got tangled up with Cliche. Jack Johnson backhands it out. Racing forward is Oposo. Taken away by Cliche. 5 seconds in the overtime. In comes Cliche. Cliche back in front. Taken away by Mueller. And this semifinal game is going to a shootout as Canada and the United States author another classic at the World Junior Hockey Championship. And the shootout is coming up next. Welcome back to Leksand, Sweden. Gord Miller, Pierre Maguire just coming up on 20-7 now local time, and Canada and the United States are making time stand still. They're going to a shootout. The winner will go to the finals rather of the World Junior Hockey Championship. It'll be a 3-round shootout. Carey Price stands tall. The United States out shooting Canada 12-2 in the overtime.
Because of the power play presence of the Americans, because of the Letang penalty on Jack Johnson, that led to all the chances against Carey Price. He was heroic, obviously, during that power play opportunity for the Americans. Letang and Taylor Chorney right now talking to the official Ulf Rundmark from Sweden.
It'll be a coin toss. Normally the home team would go second, but they'll call it. And we'll see if you get a chance to shoot first or second. In the National Hockey League, by the way, teams that shoot first win more often. And we'll see. So Letang called it. Canada wins the toss, and we'll see what the decision was, and then we'll see who the shooters are. Russia and Sweden are set to face off in about 47 minutes from now.
Not likely.
They're going to have to wait. Canada's only other shootout at the World Junior was against the U.S. in the bronze medal game in Skellefteå in 2000. So they'll get the shootout order settled, and Canada's reign as the back-to-back World Junior champions rests on this shootout.
Frazie's going to be in first. Canada will shoot first, and all the shots will be at one end.
It'll be Downey for Canada. Steve Downey against Jeff Frazee. And this crowd not so much cheering as it is now holding its collective breath. Say what you want about it. It is compelling drama. And Canada's been in more than a few of these in international hockey over the years. Steve Downey from Queensville, Ontario, the first shooter for Canada. And away we go in the shootout. Steve Downey on Frazee. Downey. Poke check by Frazee. And the Canadians are arguing that Frazee threw his stick.
There they are.
But Downey is turned away. The Canadian bench is livid.
Let's see. Downey comes in, makes a move. Hard to tell from there.
First shooter for the U.S. is Patrick Kane, the 18-year-old.
He didn't throw a stick.
Kane for the U.S. Chance to give the Americans the lead. Kane in on Price. Kane stopped by Carey Price.
And this is a part of Carey Price's game that's improved so much. Staying with shooters and then stretching out and making himself look big. And not only does he make the save, he puts a little tug on Kane's foot.
The shooter for Canada is Brian Little. Doesn't have a goal in the tournament, but he was third in OHL scoring when he left for the Canadian camp. And Little comes steaming in. Shoots, scores! And Little leaps into the Canadian bench.
And Mueller will shoot for the Americans. Comes screaming in with some speed and just snaps it low glove side. Ooh, Darren Helm happy with that one.
In comes Mueller for the United States. Mueller with a chance to tie it. Mueller in scores. 1-1 going into the third round.
Jonathan Toews will shoot for Team Canada. He scored on a penalty shot against the Americans in the last game. Mueller comes in, just goes high glove on Carey Price.
Now Toews with a chance to put Canada ahead again. And in comes Toews. Toews shoots, scores! And now Canada can win it.
Winnipeg, Manitoba, be proud of Jonathan Toews. Chicago Blackhawk fans get real excited about Jonathan Toews. Two situations against the Americans like that, twice he scored in big moments.
Jack Johnson will shoot for the United States, trying to keep his team alive. In comes Johnson on Carey Price. Johnson scores! And the shootout continues. Now round 4.
His future is so bright. Los Angeles Kings, be cheering him on for a long time. He's got the offensive upside, he's got the grit, and he's got talent.
Now Little will shoot again for Canada. And you can use anyone you want after the first 3. Little scored 2 shots ago to give Canada the lead. Coming in again on Jeff Frazee. In comes Little. Poke check by Frazee. And now the Americans can win it.
See, Frazee remembered Little shooting, and Frazee was deep in the net. Watch how far outgoed Frazee comes out to challenge on Little. He comes out so Little knows he's going to have to make a move, and there's the active stick. That's good goaltending. Very good goaltending by Frazee.
And now Kane can win it for the United States. Patrick Kane in on Price. Kane shoots, stopped by Price, and the puck is just on the line. Oh, Carey Price just kept it out.
Kane tries to beat him 5-hole.
And the Americans wanted to go to video review.
No, it's no good.
Toews will shoot again for Canada. Toews to give Canada the lead. Here comes Toews. Shoots, scores!
That is a major league kabam. What a goal by Jonathan Toews. There's no room for error. He does this against Zach Kopp. There's no room for error on that shot. That's off the niche and in.
Now Price will face Mueller. Canada's second chance to win it in the shootout. And in comes Mueller on Carey Price. Mueller, big scores! And Mueller once again staves off elimination for the U.S.
Mike Barnett and Wayne Gretzky are watching this in Phoenix, and they're saying, can we get this guy in the lineup? What a shot that is.
Cogliano will shoot next for Canada. It's round 6. Cogliano, he on crazy score! And Cogliano does the leap.
Just getting like Lambeau Field. This guy's scoring, hop right into the bench. And that's the second time Team Canada's beaten Frazee that low glove side. You saw Little do it, and then Cogliano.
Jack Johnson saved the Americans in round 3. In he comes again. Jack Johnson on Price, scores! On to round 7 we go. And it'll be Toews again for Canada.
Wow. It's a release. It's just a release point. You just see the guys that are NHL ready, and there's a guy that's NHL ready.
Toews is 2 for 2 in the shootout. In he comes again. Takes the move, scores! This guy is unbelievable.
Yes, he is.
Canada has scored 5 times on 7 attempts, but the shootout continues. And the Americans are going back to Mueller. He's 2 for 2.
He's going to get arm weary.
3 times the Americans have faced elimination. 3 times they've scored.
3 times Toews has used a different move.
In comes Mueller on Price. Peter Mueller in. Stopped by Price. Canada's going to the gold medal game at the World Junior Hockey Championship.
Don't injure him to start the gold medal game to go. Bob Nicholson, his son Grant, Rick Grace, Carey Price, the pitchers tell the story.
8 rounds it took. Canada scored 5 times, the Americans 4. And this game, everything you thought Canada and the United States could and should be.
Carey Price stays with Mueller. Mueller tries to go 5-0. The 2 times the Americans try to go 5-0 on Carey Price, he closed it right down. Wow. Don't forget the American courage, but remember the Canadian penalty kill Gordon in the overtime period. It was gigantic, led by Carey Price. The Americans outshot the Canadians in overtime 12-2.
Carey Price, the player of the game for Canada. Who else? Anaheim Lake, BC is where he grew up. Williams Lake is also his hometown.
Those plane rides were worth it. His dad, Jerry, used to fly him by their own plane down to practice.
He lost the under-18 gold medal game to this man, Jeff Frazee. And Frazee, who came in as the American starter in Game 3, was tremendous for the United States.
There wasn't one player that played for their respective countries today that took a day off.
17 straight wins for Canada at the World Junior. None more knee-knocking than this. And again, it's time for O Canada.
The players are picked out by their own coaches. They will not present the Zone Presidential Awards to the following players in Team Canada. Τις όσες κόμμες που πιάνανε οι ογένας in the semifinals match. Πιάνανε οι Σαντέλ Λίγα, ο Βεβιάνικο. Η κομμουνίδια της όσες συμφωνημένες πιάνανε in Canada.
I think there, you know what? I think there's more player of the game presentations.
The team chose in Canada, number 1, Carey Price.
This is the player of the game, the players of the game. Again,
Just saying.
top 3, it's the top 3 players for each team. So Price for Canada,
And number 29,
Jonathan
Toews.
Toews.
These are selected, by the way, by Canada. Canadian players were all lined up ready for the song.
See that mark on his nose? He probably got it recut. The sutures came out after that celebration.
And Chris Letang was the third player chosen. And for the United States, now we'll have 3 players chosen, and then we'll have O Canada. Jack Johnson will play in the bronze medal game tomorrow. That'll be his last game for the U.S. national junior team, and it will draw to a close one of the great careers in U.S. junior hockey. And the next time you see Jack and Eric Johnson wearing Team USA uniforms after this tournament,
Olympics
will be in Vancouver at the Olympics, and they both got a great chance to be there.
And I'll tell you, this guy's got a chance to go #1 in the NHL entry draft. Patrick Kane of the London Knights.
And now, the Canadians, after pulling it out, will hear the song again. Take a breath, Canada. That was something else.